bitches, every city in my tribe. Look behind. Booty dominate the world, peaches ripe.
Good afternoon, y'all. Happy Tuesday. One day I will have a system. Thank you for subscribing, Samantha. Yes. Oh, we lost a lot of single month subscribers. That's okay. What am I doing? Okay. I think we are ready to go. Is it cut off for you guys? On my phone it is, but on my tablet it's not. So I'm just curious. It's cut off. Nope, not cut off. On your phone it is? Okay, so maybe it's just depending on what you're watching it on. Let's see here. Thank you. I got conned by Instagram. Definitely a compulsive purchase. Okay, on your phone it is. Let's I mean, the font is, or the text is still pretty big, so let's see if we can just make it just a little bit smaller. Okay.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. So I see that you're a feminist. I wanted to see how extreme you take this. What's your thoughts on like all these women IDF soldiers being like required to serve for their country? Like mandatory service for women. Do you think that's a good idea?
I don't think mandatory service is good for anybody.
Well, if you have a country that's under attack, what do you think? So you're going to have to do something, right? What do you think? Do you think it's, as a society, you should just let the country fall?
I think you should always take volunteers. I don't think you should force citizens to fight.
Wow. That's crazy.
Is that?
Well, yeah. Like, imagine if you had like a society and women, children, and your elderly and your ancestors needed protected, and people are like, "Well, I don't want to fight." And you can still, but like they're still going to collect EBT. They're still going to use like public transportation. Like, what are you talking about? So they're going to use all the benefits of the government.
I don't think having access to social services requires like some kind of obligation to serve within the military.
Well, here in
I
America,
think it would actually be very
America,
fascist for the government to enforce service.
No, not forcing service. This is
that is forcing service.
Protecting the republic and service is a little bit different. So like,
tell me how it's not force if it's against someone's will.
Because the only alternative is you die. There's two options: you die or you serve and
fight. Tell me how it's not force.
Well, what are you talking about? And
like, tell me how it's like that. That to me is a fascist government, a dictatorship, to where they force you to go into war. And even if we look at American history, it hasn't been to defend the country.
I'm not talking about America.
Okay.
I'm talking about a smaller country. Let's say you had a small community. Okay, what about this? You had a home, and someone breaks into your house and you have little kids upstairs, you obviously should protect them, right? Would you, like, and someone's trying to hurt them?
Yeah, so I think you and I would differ on what form of protection that is. I don't necessarily think that you have to go out and like kill the person who is invading your property. I personally would look more to evacuate.
What if they're trying to rape your child?
They're trying to rape my child. Why is this so highly specific?
Because you're like, you were very highly specific. Well, I could just run away. I could do this. Maybe I could convince him with my words.
I said that our standard of protection is very different.
Well, you go...
And I don't see what this has to do with feminism.
Well, so here's the thing. A lot of people, I think it's a disgusting act to send your women to go fight. Like if a violent, degenerate, crazy animal broke into my house and he was trying to attack my family, I think it would be abhorrent for me to be like, hey, mom, go get him. Like, it would be on me. Or like, why? Because I'm a man. I have a duty to protect my family. Why does being a man
give you that obligation? And is why being a woman make it so if you were to fulfill that obligation, it would be abhorrent?
No. Not her. Did you think that I said that a woman protecting her family is abhorrent? That's what you just said.
Yeah, why couldn't your mom like help? Like what? Yeah, I think whoever is capable and willing should perform the task.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, like I'm like a Generation Z, able-bodied man, strong. I could beat up most of the population. My mom is like 75 years old. Like, who should take on the degenerate, crazed third worlder who's breaking into my house and trying to kill my family? This makes it's not
again, that has nothing to do with gender. That had to do with age and ability.
Okay,
one second. I know it's difficult to listen and to give someone else the space to speak, but if you could do your very best, I would really appreciate it.
Oh, they're commenting on the size of my penis.
So, weird. If you're offended, you can leave.
I think it's funny. I'm not offended. No. I think it's funny.
Well, I mean, you did have to bring it to attention.
Attention? Well, it's like spamming. It's not just one. It's like the whole chat. It's like they're in like a...
So I feel I've answered your questions.
No. You've avoided. You've derailed.
I have not avoided. So just to reiterate what I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you one more question. Give me a yes or no.
Okay.
Do you have a husband? Well, okay, two questions.
I'm not going to answer personal questions.
Okay, so me personally, let's say I have a girlfriend. We're the same age. And some degenerate third worlder breaks into my house. He's trying to kill me and her, or trying to kill her, kill my dog.
Degenerate third worlder. Wow. Talk about xenophobia.
Wait, you think third world countries are only Asian?
That's not what xenophobia is.
Xenophobia. Define that.
It is a fear of foreigners.
Fear of foreigners?
Yes. Or an adversion.
So is the Israeli government xenophobic?
What a pivot. Go ahead with your hypothetical.
Okay, yeah. So I think it'd be a disgusting act to be like, hey, babe, there's a degenerate third world animal. He's got a knife down there. How about you take this one and I'll get the next one? Like, I think that'd be gross. Like, it's
why? What if she's more capable than you?
Wait, capable at beating up a third world degenerate animal?
I don't know why it has to be beating up. Like, yeah, there can be.
What do you think that guy's going to do to you? He thinks he's going to bait me.
So again, I don't know if you've like ever had a conversation, but what is really important is that there is a back and forth.
I 100% understand that. I 100% understand that. But when I ask you a question,
no. So I'm speaking. And this is the point where within your communication, effective communication is to listen. So this is the part where you engage in that effective communication by listening. If you cannot do so, I don't see any point in engaging with you.
Yeah, let me know when you're done.
I will. I'm glad that you need the social cue to be given to you. So when we talk about ways to eliminate a threat or attack, it's not brute force that always wins the outcome. There is tactical, strategic, and skill advantages. So yes,
Skilled
if she
advantage.
were more skilled in strategy, in arms.
You actually believe this?
Wait, so I didn't let you know. So, but based on how you understand this, it's not your turn to talk.
I just find
So
this
yes,
insane.
if she is the most skillful person, then if the plan is to then attack directly, then I would think she would be the most apt.
Do you think any women on the you think what women what percentage of women could beat up your average man? 10%?
Again, I didn't even talk about beat up. I talked about that there are different strategies when it comes to eliminating someone who is attacking you. So it doesn't have to be hand-to-hand combat.
Is she going to coerce him sexually? What are we going to do? Or is she going to court him sexually?
This is going to be your last warning. I don't know why it's so difficult for you to give someone else the space to speak.
I only got 2 words and you got like 300 in the last 400 words. So let me talk.
Because you have asked questions and I am answering them.
Okay, for sure. But let me get some specific examples and specific women who are like more strategically inept to like take out a degenerate third worlder who's trying to attack their family and like doesn't even speak the language.
He's got degenerate third worlder. That is such like poor framing. I mean, you're already coming off as sexist as well as xenophobic.
Sexist.
Like, do better. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. He's a first worlder. He's high on PCP and he's got a knife.
Just say he's the guy. Just say he's the guy.
Okay, some guy he's high on PCP and he's coming to kill your family. Like what women would be better than like a cop in that situation? Like a man with a...
You don't think there are women who are cops?
Oh my God, you just like derail everything, bro. Give me an example of a woman who's better at taking out...
know why you're just basing this off gender. Because are you saying that women are
shouldn't be
incapable?
fighting. I'd beat up 99.9% of women in hand-to-hand combat. That's just because I'm a man.
I doubt
like that. Even Ronda Rousey and the WM. Wait, you think MMA fighters like got a chance against like a strong man?
Yeah, I think Ronda Rousey would own you.
Oh my God. Do you think she would beat up Floyd Mayweather?
I think it would depend on like the specifics of the fight. But yeah, I do think there are instances. Sure. There are martial arts that.
Yeah, I know my buddy fights high level MMA. He's I'm connected with high level MMA.
Just let me know when you're done talking.
Well, I find it. I just don't need to be explained about MMA when I'm like in cliques with like high level MMA guys who are coached by some of the best MMA fighters in the world.
Where you use against a larger and stronger opponent.
No, we've actually had this discussion. Like the owner of the gym was claiming that he could beat up like an NFL linebacker and everyone was just laughing at him. The strength is a thing. There's a reason weight classes exist. There's no such thing as like a 120-pound woman taking down a Khalil Mack or a Micah Parsons. Like this is not a Marvel movie. Okay.
Pound for pound. And then it obviously just has to do with size, not ability.
Well, yeah, and men are stronger and bigger than women. Boom. Thanks. You
because they're only bigger. So if you made the person who was intruding the same size as a woman, would that be an equal fight?
If he was high on PCP and had a knife and was a man, no.
Oh, so now you have to add all these other qualifiers. Gotcha.
Well, not even that. If it was a man versus a woman, it's always. If it's a man versus a woman, it's always going to be a disadvantage. Okay. Do you believe?
I want you to realize that I have given you your mic and I can take it away.
Do you believe that a transgender woman could compete with LeBron James in basketball, even with the hormones? It's not true. This is why do you think
transgender women are women? And again, I don't see what that has to do with anything. What else did you want to talk about?
Yeah, do you think LeBron James could get beat in basketball by any woman?
I don't think LeBron James can be beaten by most men.
Because he's the GOAT. He's the man. That's why the best fighter will never get beaten by a woman.
Right, but we're talking about typical.
Yeah, typically you're going to have a woman who's much weaker than her average male counterpart 100% of the time. Boom, thanks. You answered my question for me.
Not necessarily. That just depends on the size of the people. And again, I've already addressed this. It does not have to be... Stop talking. this is your last warning. I'm serious. Do I have to speak to you like you are a petulant child in order for you to take it seriously? How old are you?
Well, I did take it seriously, but
How old are you?
I'm not doxing myself because a degenerate
Okay.
IDF agent tried to get me down.
Bye.
Fucking loser.
Hey there. I just wanted to point out that there was a person who was gifting lightning bolts to a guy who was very, very misogynistic, and that is almost certainly a Nazi dog whistle. So, like, that last guy was more than just an asshole. He was a fascist. Like, that was pretty clear. That's all. I only requested because I wanted to point that out to him.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know. What are...
Ow. Okay.
Hey, Kenzie.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, that last guy, whatever he said about, I don't think gifting someone lightning bolts is a Nazi dog whistle. I think that's literally,
Are you here to debate?
yeah. I
What
don't
would you
think
like to
that
debate?
toxic masculinity.
Okay.
I don't think masculinity is ever toxic. I just think that you get toxic people, but masculinity itself is not toxic.
That statement doesn't say that masculinity in itself is toxic. It's saying that there are social prescriptions and traits applied to masculinity that are toxic.
Yeah. And like a minute or two ago, you said that trans women are women. Like, what
So wait,
about them?
let's not pivot. Let's not pivot. Are we talking about toxic masculinity?
No, but I get your point now. You made,
Okay. So you concede now?
yeah, I'll concede the toxic masculinity part.
What did you want to talk about next? That's on the board.
About okay, okay. How about purity culture and body count?
All right.
Do you think? Okay, let's change the word body count. Make that marriage count. Do you think someone with a high marriage count is a red flag?
No, I think context would matter.
Yeah, but if a guy has been married 4 times, wouldn't that be like a big red flag?
Again, I think context would matter. So, let's say he got married when he was young. They really didn't know each other. No, I wouldn't fault him for that. Let's say his second wife, unfortunately got terminal cancer and died. No, I wouldn't fault him for that. His third wife, let's just say cheated on him and decided to leave him for someone else. No, I wouldn't fault him for that. And then the fourth one, I don't know, whatever other context there is. So no, I think context is important.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think like I know that men value purity and youth in women, and they don't want a woman who's been around too much.
Why?
It's probably because just having too many sexual partners means that you have a high risk of STDs. You're definitely not going to be as loyal. You might end the relationship easier because you're used to just running to another man or something.
So you said, so let's talk about STDs. So I would say STDs, if you're sexually active, you can be susceptible to STDs. So if that's something that you're concerned about, I would just recommend that you require testing for STIs for your partners. When it comes to being loyal, no, I don't think body count determines someone's ability to be in a long-term committed relationship.
Well,
And
isn't it
then
a red flag that
what was
they've
the third
been in
one?
so many?
What was the third one?
Um, I can't remember. Um, but yeah,
Oh, she's more likely to leave you. Again, I don't think that determines that at all.
no, it just means that she doesn't. I don't think a woman who sleeps around with too many men values herself too highly. And if you don't
Why?
value yourself, because if everyone gets you, then you're not very. Then it's not very exclusive.
Well, again, I think you would have to like support that everyone gets her. So, would you agree that women have like more options when it comes to engaging in sex?
Yeah, a lot more.
Right.
It's much easier for them.
So, great. So, if a woman has like 100 men that are interested, and let's say she just sleeps with like 15, obviously everyone has not had access to her. There is still a selection process.
No, of course. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I just think it's a red flag if you have too many bodies. It just means that you're kind of cheap.
Why?
Because you have too many bodies.
That's circular. Why is having too many bodies show that you're cheap or lack self-respect?
Because you don't value. I don't know. How do you say it?
Right? You don't have a reason. I think this is just a
Yeah,
prescription that men have placed on women because that's how men value women.
yeah, but women value men in certain ways too, like how much money we earn, like
I think
yeah,
everyone
what kind
values
of
someone
cars.
in terms of like how much they earn.
Yeah, but men
That's not
don't.
like a female to male thing. And again, if we're going to talk about like historical context, that was typically because women were barred access from like economic monetary income.
Yeah, because they were at home. They didn't need to work.
Well, no, it's because and again, like this isn't like every woman. Obviously, like migrant women and women of color have always worked, but women typically haven't had as much economic value in the marketplace as men. So I would just say that's like a historical thing, and with like feminism and equality, it would close that gap.
Yeah, no, I get it. You make good points, so I concede.
Oh, okay, great. Anything else?
No, nothing. It's all right.
All
Have a
right.
good
Well,
night,
then,
Kenzie.
thank you for coming on.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
That one, I don't get shocked very often, but that kind of shocked me. Oh, okay. Let's do a little bit of chill. If you're new here, please give me please drop some likes, give me a follow. I do a lot of feminist created content on here. So if that's your jam, it would be a good account to follow. You can also follow me on Instagram as well as YouTube. YouTube, I am posting my debate streams. So if you ever miss them, you do have access to them for free on another avenue. You can also join my Discord if you want to continue the conversation offline and interact with me personally. And if you would like to support me outside of TikTok gifts, I do have Venmo and Cash App in bio, as well as my Amazon book list, where you can give me books based on these topics. And it's a win-win for both of us. So thank you, everybody.
Hello?
Hello, welcome.
What's up? Okay. So pro-abortion, so professional abortion sounds real nice.
Pro meaning the affirmative, not meaning professional.
Right, but I mean, it's like, first and foremost, pro-abortion, like, it's just like the first thing on there, like, so proud of abortions, like, it's just kind of weird.
I don't know why that indicates being proud of abortions. Like, are you pro healthcare?
My pro-healthcare,
Yeah.
I mean, you mean pro-free healthcare or like pro what?
Just pro healthcare. Do you
Quiet.
think
Come
people should have access to healthcare?
here. Of course. Everyone
Great.
does have access
So I think
to.
people should have access to abortion, just like you're pro healthcare. I consider abortion to be healthcare. Therefore, I'm pro abortion.
But like first and foremost on the list, like there's no other words. It's just pro-abortion. Like it's just like pro-abortion. Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, I think we should change the language away from pro-choice to pro-abortion. Because if, again, if I were to say, like, I think you should have access to healthcare, I wouldn't be like pro-choice to get healthcare. I would be pro-healthcare. Or if you needed a cavity filled, I wouldn't be like, oh, you have the choice to get your cavity filled. Yes, I would just be like, no, I'm pro you getting your cavity filled. So that's the context of it. I'm pro people having access to abortion.
You're right. We should change the name. Pro-death.
Okay.
But
Why?
I mean, I think abortion's a valuable tool to be utilized discreetly. Not something to be proud about, nothing to be like, oh, pro-abortion, yeah.
I don't think getting your cavity filled is something to be proud about.
Why are we talking about cavities? We're talking about something way more serious.
Because I'm showing you that having a procedure or healthcare is not like innately something that gives you pride.
Well, obviously, that's why I said it's something that should be utilized as a healthcare tool for, like, utilized discreetly in certain situations and shouldn't be thought of as, some sort of like, oh, after my abortion, I'm going to go get my nails done.
Why not? After my cavity filled, I'm going to go get my nails done. Like, what?
It's very serious. It's a very serious thing. Like,
what do you mean by that?
It's the ending of a, pregnancy. It's the ending of a future human life, potentially.
Right, potentially. You
Exactly.
could say a period is,
Does that not matter to? Okay. I don't want to get stuck on abortion.
Well, I don't really think you have an argument, but okay.
I just don't see how it helps society.
You don't think that women having autonomy and access to healthcare is helpful for society?
They do. They should. If any woman's life is threatened by pregnancy, yeah. But if your life isn't threatened,
well, that's not what's happening.
You just don't feel like having a baby, even though you committed actions which is for having babies, is like kind of weird.
I would disagree with you that sex is strictly for just having babies.
Okay, so what's it for? Pleasure?
I would say for elements of socialization as well as psychological well-being.
Okay, so in other words, sex is basically a drug. Has terrible possible side effects, but it feels good, right? But anyways.
I don't know how you got me saying it's for psychological well-being and for socialization as it's a drug.
I don't see how it could be possible. How it's for sexual well-being.
Psychological?
Yeah.
Do you think humans are social creatures?
Of course.
Do you think that we find joy and fulfillment in emotional and intimate connection?
Right, but...
So sex can be an expression of that.
We're smart enough to not do things that could have harmful consequences, even if they feel good inside. If you just seek pleasure and, oh, this makes me happy for 5 minutes, your life's not going to be very good.
Well, I think you just kind of did a self-report there, but that's not an argument. Like you said, I don't see how it's related for psychological well-being. And then I show you that it helps establish connection and intimacy with romantic partners, which makes a sense of closeness, which fulfills that aspect of human being social creatures. What about that does not make sense to you?
I'm saying if we sit here and treat sex like that, other than what it's for, which the utility of it is reproduction, then it's just not good for society.
Well, I actually think that's a very dehumanizing.
If we're like, oh, you can have sex all you want, and then you just get an abortion, and yeah, everything's cool.
Well, I don't think that has serves utility in general. But to say that sex is strictly for procreation, it is not only dehumanizing, but is such a disingenuous take.
How is it dehumanizing? It's literally creating another human. It's pro-humanizing.
No, it's dehumanizing because animals have sex simply for procreation, where I've already established that humans engage in sex for socialization and psychological well-being. So you're removing those human elements of it, therefore dehumanizing it.
Right. Okay. I'm just saying, I mean, society would be better if we weren't so willy-nilly with sex, and abortion opens the door to be willy-nilly with sex. I don't know. I feel like society would be better.
I disagree. A majority of abortions come from long-term committed relationships. So that's not someone what, I mean, I think you would need to do like better context on what willy-nilly is.
You know, something that's not given much thought.
So people who are
sucks.
in long-term, like what kind of thought do you want to be given?
It should be a major life decision when you...
Every time you have sex should be a major life decision.
Especially for girls.
What do you mean? What needs to be analyzed?
My fault. Especially for girls, like I was saying.
What needs to be analyzed?
You have a huge risk. Women are requiring less and less. You used to have to actually get married to girls and stuff. Now it's just so easy.
I disagree. I think women are requiring more and more.
Well, shit, not for me. And that's false.
That seems like a really
that's disingenuous for you to say. That's disingenuous for you to say. You can freaking not leave your house, hop on an app and get some by tonight.
So now you're kind of characterizing that abortions stem from promiscuity or from just having sex with strangers. And I've already told you that a majority of abortions come from long-term committed relationships, because it's not the amount of partners that determines if you're going to get pregnant. It's the volume of sex. And people who are in long-term committed relationships typically have a higher volume of sex.
Well, I mean, that's unfortunate. I mean, even if you're in a long-term committed relationship, you should expect pregnancy when doing the act of getting someone pregnant. I mean, I just don't know what else to say.
Why should you expect pregnancy?
When you do the act of getting someone pregnant, you know what that is?
That is an outcome, sure, but I think the statistics are like 5% of intercourse leads to pregnancy.
Okay, so if I hit it once a day for a month, that's, more than likely you're going to get pregnant.
Sure, but again, that has to do with volume. And if we take what's 5% of 30?
5% of 30, it's going to be a fraction.
It's 1.5.
Yeah.
So out of 30 times 1.5 would be typically what?
I didn't want to get stuck on the abortion thing. It's just.
Well, I can see why. What do you want to talk about?
I mean, you can see why. I mean, what am I supposed to sit here and pretend like it sits right with me?
You don't have very well thought out arguments.
Because I don't need to sit here and think about something that's very obvious.
Well, if it's so obvious, then why don't you have reasoning and substantiation behind your claims?
I have been, but you have your own reasoning.
I think you've actually very much mischaracterized sex and mischaracterized the reality of how abortion occurs.
Am I not allowed to feel how I feel about sex on my own?
Well, I would think you want to be facts over feelings.
Well, I mean, we're arguing on TikTok. This isn't serious. I'm not about to pull up any sources or anything like that. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, you feel how you feel, and that's why we have our own choices in life.
But so my opinion is based on like actual research and education. And even if you want to reduce this down to like a philosophical argument, why do you think people with a capacity for pregnancy should be forced to sustain pregnancy against their will?
I never once said they should be forced. I said it should be a tool used discreetly. You shouldn't be openly proud, like, oh, yeah.
Should abortion be legal?
You shouldn't be like looking forward to having an abortion is something that I'm saying.
That's not what I'm asking. Should abortion be legal?
Yeah, of course. To be used discreetly.
What does that mean?
That means...
Does someone need to have a good reason?
Okay, that means, yes, anyone can get one, but it shouldn't be looked at. It should be looked at in a negative light in our society. It shouldn't be looked at as something.
Why should it be stigmatized?
Because it's just a negative thing.
Why?
You're going under an operation to end a pregnancy, which is
Okay.
low key the only.
Why is that negative?
Maybe it's just my personal feelings towards it. I've always been excited when a family member gets pregnant. I've always been excited around pregnancy. It just gives me a good feeling.
I would
And
argue
I
that's
love
because
babies.
the child is wanted. But
Yeah.
again, you haven't answered why termination of pregnancy is negative.
Well, I can't give you a factual reason on why something's negative because, I mean, how could you? It's
Then
an
you
opinion.
can't substantiate your claim.
It's an opinion. What do you mean? It's always going to be an opinion.
Right, but our opinions can be backed by reason or logic.
Just like I'll never understand those people who are like, oh, I hate kids and I hate this. I'm like, what? They're literally
How old are you?
24.
Okay. So do you have kids?
I have one. So like, there's just some people that you just can't understand because you have a difference of opinions. Like those people that are so proud and loud and like, oh, F them kids. Oh, I hate kids. Oh my God.
I think you can be empathetic. Yeah. Children are a huge undertaking to take on.
But what's
And I
more
can see
important?
how
What could
people
ever be
don't
more
want-
important?
What?
But what could ever be a more important undertaking?
Personal fulfillment?
As in what?
The person finding what fulfills them most?
But no one can ever say what that is or an example of that.
Sure they can. A lot of people find that in academia. A lot of people find that in sports. A lot of people find that in children. There's a variety of things.
Yeah, those are side hustles. The children's the main thing. Children are going to take over your legacy, but all these people who say F them kids, they have nothing to give to children.
People don't have
businesses. They don't have any ambition. They don't do shit. They don't have nothing to give.
That's not true. There are plenty of people who have had ambition and achieved things who are childless.
Yeah, of course. There's people that have done everything. You know what I'm saying? We can't generalize.
Well, then you just made a contradiction.
But I'm saying there's people that have done everything, but we can look at, majorities. Like, when you bring up the argument.
Why wouldn't you want a person to be a parent who wants to be a parent?
Oh, no, I'll never stop anyone. Like I said, I'll never personally try to stop anyone from getting an abortion, from being a parent, because those people can end their own bloodlines on their own accord and natural selection can take its course. And, people that want to.
If you support natural selection, which I don't know if you really know what that means in terms of like reproductive selection,
well, it's kind of condescending.
Then you would support abortion for any reason.
That's a little condescending, but natural selection as in just the natural way of things. If you really are that desperate to not have children, then don't.
What do you mean desperate to not have children?
Like that you make it like a personality trait. Like, oh, I'm pro-abortion. Oh, F them kids. Oh my God.
Pro-abortion is not.
I'm so lucky I don't have kids.
I've already substantiated that. I want people who have children to want their children.
Of course.
Right.
Who in their right mind would say, I want people who don't want children to have children? That's not what I'm saying.
A lot of people want to force people to sustain pregnancy.
I can understand that too at the same time, but that's not how I personally feel. I can understand it though, because life finds a way. You know what I'm saying? Like people see a chance. People see a chance. Even if the kid's growing up in crappy conditions in foster care, people see a chance there. But then I also understand.
But it doesn't justify the subjugation and oppression of peoples to bring other people into the world. I don't think people with the capacity of pregnancy should be tortured in order for children to be born.
Right. I understand that as well.
Sure.
That's why we're just having a discussion.
What else do you want to talk about?
We could just move to the next thing. Feminism. So what's feminism fighting for? I never understood. No one's ever told me.
I would say that feminism is fighting for the oppression, exploitation, or discrimination of persons based on gender.
I can understand that in other countries, but in America, is there any rights that men have that women don't?
Yeah, the right to reproductive freedom.
The right to reproductive freedom. Pretty sure you could still get an abortion.
No, it's being restricted in a lot of states, and they are trying to make it federally legal.
Okay. So, I mean, men don't even have the chance to get pregnant. So it's like, how is that even? So that's all they're fighting for? Is that the only right?
Well, but men aren't being forced to have vasectomies either.
Yeah, women aren't being forced to, I mean,
They're
assault
being forced
aside.
to sustain pregnancy against their will. So if we're
Okay,
going to
well,
talk about reproductive
women aren't
freedom,
being forced to commit actions that cause them to get pregnant. I mean, assault aside, I mean, that's a different issue.
I would argue that men cause unwanted pregnancy, not women.
I mean, it takes two to tango. That's how we create a baby.
Right, but pregnancy does not occur without the insemination, which is men's action.
Right.
So I would argue that men have the responsibility to keep their DNA to themselves.
But if a man's having consensual, unprotected, with a woman, it's equal. I mean, how could the man be?
No, he still has the moral responsibility to keep his genetic material to himself. Otherwise, I would say he's behaving recklessly.
But it would be impossible for him to do that on his own, is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, it would. He doesn't have to engage. He can wear a condom.
He needs the woman. Yeah.
He doesn't have to orgasm in order to enjoy sex, I would assume.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I guess so. But I'm just saying, I mean, it feels like feminism's kind of, I mean, I feel like the fight would better be fought in somewhere where women are actually like oppressed.
So I said oppression, exploitation, or discrimination.
Like y'all should go fight for the women that are actually struggling. And I think there are a lot of ways where women still face. I'm sorry, what? Y'all should go fight for the women that are actually struggling in the Middle East and shit.
I agree. I think we do need to look outside of America as well. And I don't think that still doesn't mean that there is work to be done in the States and other nations.
Low-key, we need the opposite. Well, what would feminism be? We need that. Because I'm not trying to get taken away and fighting in wars. I don't want that right. Like, we need rights taken away.
I agree. I don't think that men should be forced to go into the draft. So that would be feminism. Because you want to be free.
We need to be a strong military at the same time. Low key.
Why?
Because that's the only thing that's why we are the way we are. We would be terrible without having the strongest military. That's
I just think then you concede that America's terrible.
Well, I mean, everything's terrible in one way or another. Every country has its positives, but America having the strongest military is our only, like, we don't have anything else that's really the best of anything. We don't have the best.
And I think our military only makes us good at imperialism and exploitation. Which I would argue
we need that low key. We need it. It's not beneficial as in it's not nice. Are you actually promoting
imperialism and exploitation?
I'm not promoting it, but I'm not saying, you're basically saying it's not nice. You just agreed
with me that that's what the military does.
But you're saying it's not the right thing to do. I agree, but it's what we have to do.
It is not what we have to do in any way.
All right, so if it wasn't us, it'd be Russia. I'd rather have us than Russia.
I think Russia is trying already to engage in imperialism, sure. But I think ultimately the baseline on why these things are happening is due to capitalism, patriarchy, and white supremacy.
Right. Hold on one second. Let's talk about... All right. Where were we? So the military, for America to be relevant, we have to have the strongest military. That's just who we are. That's how we came up.
No, I think we can really shift to actually provide more good in the world and actually take care of our citizens and not be a country that exploits other nations and conducts imperialism. I would say that actually America's the bad place because of that.
Right. So if we don't have the strongest military, America will go to shit. because the only reason that we have,
No,
or
I think
we
so.
have the illusion of being so rich as a country is because we borrow so much money, which we can do because we have the bigger stick.
Well, where do you think a lot of that money goes?
Like a lot of countries, they don't have no strong military. They can't borrow money. That's why they're poor indefinitely.
Where do you think that money goes?
In the military, it's a cycle,
Yeah,
but it works.
it does not work. I would argue that it only works for the elite within our country. And it actually does not serve the American people whatsoever.
I know, but the world, you don't understand. The world's not nice. The world's not nice.
Well,
Like,
a world ruled by men.
there's
sure.
laws. Like we grow up with these laws and we think the world is, there's justice. It doesn't exist. Laws go out the window in war. America murders and does everything, but you'll get arrested for that in this country. But as soon
I
as you,
agree. I
soon
don't
as you
know why
step
then you
outside here,
justify. I don't know why then you justify murder by the military.
I'm not justifying it. I'm saying that's how it
Yet you
is.
want it to be a consistent institution.
Well, I'm saying, I mean, this is the best it's ever been in human history. So it's like, it's kind of like
Based
all we
on what
know.
metric?
Based on your life expectancy, based on your expected lifestyle. The way we live is that of lords of the old times. Like our basic living is like back then, if you were a peasant, you were a peasant for life. There is no getting up.
I still think there are a lot of people who experience poverty in the United States. In fact, 1 in 7 Americans rely on food banks.
That's better than what it was. Shit. You would catch the Black Plague from rats back in the day.
Fine. It's better. I still think we can progress.
We can, and we should always be striving to, but we have to be grateful.
We do have, no, because I hope that you realize that Americans having access to food means that we are exploiting other countries to where they don't have that access.
So we should all just starve together.
I don't know how you thought that I came to that conclusion. No, I think we should create a system that doesn't rely on the exploitation of the global South in order to essentially create a society that works for the very, very small majority.
It's a cruel world. It's a cruel world. And that's just how it is. And we can sit here and talk about how it should be forever, but the way it is, it is just how it is right now. Like, it's not nice. And you see what's going on with Israel.
Wait, don't pivot. I'm not saying that it's not the way it is. I'm saying it's not the way it ought to be. We can still progress. And I also think life expectancy is actually going down.
Well, on average, it's, the last 100 years is higher than ever before.
Right, but now it's going down.
Well,
yeah, life expectancy in the U.S. dropped for the second year. That's from the CDC.
To what?
So
that's because all them old people.
I would argue if that's your baseline, then the system is failing.
That's because all them old people died from COVID, so it messed up the stats.
Well, obviously, it's still relevant.
Like back in any other time in human history, other than the last revolution since the Industrial Revolution, technological revolution, the only chance you had as a peasant was hopping on an old wooden ship. Hopefully you don't die on the trip and going somewhere else. You don't even know where you're going.
Right, but I've already addressed this argument. I don't know why you're saying that this is because how it is, therefore this is how it ought to be. I'm saying that we can continue to progress as a society.
Right, we can. We also have to be grateful.
We don't need to rely on essentially the foundations of the United States. I think we should actually move away from it because our ability to expand and to progress has been at the expense of other countries.
Yeah. And maybe it's just in human nature for conquest, taking over other countries.
I disagree. I think human nature would actually be to act as a community. I think capitalism has given you that propaganda.
right? But acting as a community, it's just everyone separates into separate communities. And if you if someone tries to come in your house and say, I want your house, and they have like people with them and they can overpower you.
Wait, so if you and I are at a buffet and you have food on your plate, do you think I'm going to be like, Bryce, give me your food? Or do you think I'm going to go up to the buffet?
Well, someone has to supply the buffet.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm
I know,
asking
but
you, do you think I will be like, Bryce, give me the food on your plate? Or do you think I will just go up to the buffet and get my own food?
well, I mean, in real life, yeah, you would go up to the buffet and get your own food. But if you wanted
Right.
my food and you were able to take it, then what's
No,
stopping
not
you?
if I had access to my own food. I would
Now,
not.
say
Which you
there's,
just acknowledged through the buffet analogy.
I know,
I would have
but
no need
say
to take it from you because I have my own food.
say the buffet's out of food though. Now you need to eat. Now it's survival. We live
But
so cushy.
wait. So
You forget about
that's the
survival.
point. Wait, that is the point, is that we create a system to where everyone has basic needs met. Capitalism is not doing that.
I would say so. I would say it is. Obviously, there's always going to be people whose needs aren't met through self-destructive
What
tendencies.
basic needs are being met within the United
There's
States?
people that would rather than get free food for life, they would choose some sort of drug just because of self-destructive tendencies.
Wait, what basic needs are being met in the United States?
Well, we have a steady population growth and people are surviving.
That's not a basic need.
Well, you can tell they're surviving. I mean, if they don't have their needs, they would die.
That surviving and having your basic needs met are two different things. You said that people in the United States are having their basic needs met. What basic needs are being met?
I would say people have shelter, food, and water, air.
Really, you don't think that we have the highest unhoused population?
I mean, that might be true. But then again, a lot of homeless people come here.
People's basic needs are not being met.
Well, obviously, a lot of homeless people come here because it's one of the best places to be if you're homeless. If I was homeless, I already know where I'm going. I'm going to Venice Beach.
Well, that's not your argument, though. Your argument is that the basic needs are being provided, and they're not. That's why we have an unhoused population.
Okay, so but you don't understand the basic needs will never be met by your definition, because in general they are. Majority they are. The population's growing.
No, they're not. Not even in majority. I already told you that 1 in 7 Americans rely on food banks. So no, not even food as a basic need is being met.
But food banks exist, so therefore food is being provided, so therefore they're eating.
It still doesn't mean that they aren't facing hunger.
Well, yeah. If you're alive, you're going to face hunger. That's just how our body works.
Not if your basic needs are being met. Even in the United States in 2018, we threw away enough food to feed 10 billion people. So no, it's not because there are limited resources.
Well, what do you want us to do? It's hard to get the food out to people. What are we supposed to do? It is.
It is
so you
because
eat
of capitalism,
every scrap on your plate.
But not because of like the technology or the capability.
Let us see your trash can. You're gonna give people you think people want your few extra bites of your sandwich that you didn't feel like eating?
It's not necessarily individuals throwing away like a half-eaten sandwich. It's grocery stores throwing away food, as well as restaurants that haven't been touched by people.
Okay,
there half of all U.S. produce is thrown away.
Well, there's going to be situations like that in a capitalistic society when you have to create demand.
Right, that's why I'm saying that capitalism as a structure is not designed to provide the basic needs of its citizens.
Well, there's no perfect system.
Would then be a contradiction on what you were saying.
There's no perfect system.
I don't know why it has
faults
to be.
Too.
Wait. I don't know why it has to be perfect or what we have. Why it can't just be better. Yes, I think there are a lot of things that we can do as a structure, implementing structures and systems to where a majority of people get a majority of needs met. We have the ability to provide housing to everyone. There are actually more unoccupied houses than there are unhoused people. We have the ability to provide food to everyone. We have the technology and manpower to actually create systems to where people do have access to clean, fresh, available water.
And in general, people have access to these things in majority.
No, they don't. It is not a majority.
We do.
It is not. No,
But
60% of U.S. citizens are a $500 emergency away from abject poverty.
I mean, I just can't. I can't understand it. People get in these situations
because you're not informed.
Because I talk to these people all the time. I didn't come from really nothing crazy. Very normal life. Below.
Well, then you aren't talking to the people who don't fit within. Like those are anecdotes.
I'm saying normal to below normal. I don't know if they
necessarily would like admit to you.
And so do you. I mean, look at you. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to decide. I mean, you're comfortable in there. I mean,
okay.
So, like, and it's not hard to be. And then people bring up these things. Very much. It's really
that's a very privileged point of view.
But it's really not. To have the bare minimum is not privileged at all in this country.
No, for you to say that everyone has to the bare minimum is a privilege take.
It's like it's just so easy. Like, and then when I'm talking to people about this, they're like, okay, imagine someone, single mom, she has 3 kids, she has to do this. I'm like, damn, the kids just fell out of nowhere. They were given to her. Like, she must take care. No, you do things in life. Your decisions lead up to things. And like, obviously, yeah,
correct.
It's going to be hard.
But it still doesn't mean that so here's a great example. Here's a great example of why feminism is still needed. Because if we're going to go based on gender roles, that women are to be the prominent childcare providers, that is not economically beneficial for women. There is no money in rearing your children unless you outsource it. So when women have to outsource childcare because they have to go to work in order to meet their other needs, that is a barrier to where they're actually being able to make progress.
Right. So back to the first one. Okay. Child rearing. Maybe we should be a little more selective in who we do the child making process with, like you disagreed with before, because it can lead to such dire situations.
I didn't disagree with that. I already told you that a majority of abortions happen in long-term committed relationships. And again, I also think that's a very privileged and like borderline, like white-centered point of view as well.
Yeah, I suppose. But you can argue that a society in which marriage, families, and community is praised instead of this individualistic culture that we have now that is getting more prevalent.
That is from capitalism.
Is it?
Yeah, capitalism very much relies on individualism.
You can't argue with me and say that society wouldn't be better if we put up more stress on marriage and children and families and family units instead of me.
Well, the family unit, I don't know that I would say like the family unit in terms of the nuclear family that you're describing, it is again like a white-centered ideology. The nuclear family, I don't think we need to have in place in order to have a beneficial society. That's just another form of individualism in a larger cog. Because like you would agree that the family is a commune, right?
I'm just saying we would have just a much better society, less crime. People should be proud of their.
Can you give me a source on that?
People's last names don't mean shit. I mean Kardashian, I guess, but people's last names don't mean anything.
Can you give me a source on that about the family thing? Because I feel this is just like halogenic ultranationalism.
Let me finish this thought real quick, and then I'll tell you. But like I was saying, people's family names don't mean anything anymore. Like, like I can't imagine us having more crime if people are scared to smear their family name when they're proud of who they are. People aren't proud of who they are. They're like, it's just sad. That's why
some of the most prominent names commit crimes. Have you heard of the family name of Trump?
Jesus. I mean, when your face is in the media and you're scrutinized for any little thing and you're, dissected to the point like if anyone was dissected to the point where Trump was, like I'm sure you would be
I
in
don't know
jail
what
for
you
life.
mean by dissected. Trump committed crimes well before his presidency.
Like tax crimes?
Fraud crimes, yeah.
Or are you talking about sexual assault? Because if
Well,
there's
that
no,
too. Sexual assault, fraud.
okay, well, if you sexually assaulted someone, that's, terrible. I don't ever stand for that. But tax
He's
crimes and
had
these
27
crimes,
different accusations.
these money crimes where you can, okay, then he's terrible for that. But as far as anyone who has like money crimes against them, if you're not stealing from, somebody, I just, you don't understand how they can just flip and like manipulate words and find out that you
Trump
didn't pay $1.
wait. Trump deliberately over-exaggerated his property holdings as well as his revenue in order to gain access to loans. That is fraud.
Okay.
And that's just talking prior to his presidency. So, and I would say that he very much within his campaign also touted like family values when he's twice divorced, 3 times married, has how many children with 3 different women.
That's not inherently negative, but it can show that he has a lack
I
of
think
commitment.
it's interesting how you say that women should be more selective with their partners, and yet now you're not criticizing Trump for that.
Well, we're talking about, a very high net worth individual who's never going to have an issue getting a wife. As far as the average man and woman, yes, be very selective. If you're someone could just leave and not be affected, then yes. If you're Donald Trump, yes, you're freaking Donald Trump. You were the president of the United States. You're doing things
but those go against all the statements that you made that when you have like pride in your family and you have high social status, you don't commit crime. Many of the wealthiest people commit crimes.
I didn't say crime wouldn't be committed. I said, I'm saying this. Just think with me here. If everyone is proud of their name, their family name, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a Lewis. I could never do this. I wouldn't." Like, I just can imagine crime going down. People don't want to. Like, imagine your family would be like.
Well, why does crime occur typically?
Well, because of a lack of resources, or it's a lack of something. But imagine we had. But American culture is so backwards and individualistic nowadays. Kids get kicked out at their most vulnerable moments. They're 18 years old. They don't know anything. Other cultures, they don't even think about this. Like Muslims, a lot of my Muslim friends, they live together. They have a big mansion, like the cousins living together. And they don't even make that much.
That's not the nuclear family. That would be, again, more reflective of a commune.
Right. But it starts with the nuclear family.
It does not start with the nuclear family. Again, the nuclear family is a white patriarchal idea.
A lot of Hispanic families, they don't even move out their house. It's not even a thought to move out the house until
that is
they're
not
married.
The nuclear family, and we agree on this.
Well, it starts out as nuclear. They have a husband and wife.
You are representing ideas that are more reflective of actually acting like a community than an individual under capitalism. You are agreeing with me.
I'm just saying, the way American culture is going is just destructive, and
what would you say if I were to ask you for like 3 to 5 ideas that represent American culture? What would those be?
Well, let me not specify just American culture. Things that I see that are prevalent in America. Kicking kids out when they're 18.
I like that you said American culture. I like that you said American culture. Give me 5 one-word ideas that represent American culture.
Well, I mean, I can't really say one word, but I can give you like kicking kids out when they're 18, when they graduate high school, like you're supposed to do that or something.
How can you not give single word descriptors of American culture? I'm just asking you for 5 adjectives.
What am I supposed to say? Bad?
I mean, you've already said individualism, so that's one.
Oh, okay. Okay, you mean like that. Yeah, individualism is just rising. Another one would be, let me think, crime.
Crime. Okay.
It's just a big thing.
Okay, so individualism, crime.
And what else is Americans freaking doing nowadays? OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
I mean, a lot. Well, it's kind of on the downfall. A lot of them had to come back to reality.
So OnlyFans is a representation of American culture.
Well, it's just something I could think of that is no. If we're, that's why I didn't want to say the word culture. If we're giving one word, I just want to say
culture. Okay, so let me do the exercise. So I would say American culture, in terms of the foundation on what America represents, would be patriarchal, white supremacy, or colonialism, capitalism, individualism, and hegemony.
Yeah, I would say capitalism as well.
So these are the things that I think America should move away from.
Well, we can't move away from capitalism, though.
Sure we can.
Wait, why?
Because capitalism is creating a lot of inequity, as well as exploitation.
Capitalism
oppression.
goes hand in hand with freedom. What'd you say?
It does not.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It allows you opportunity, freedom of markets. It's already very not free as it is. They control a lot of stuff.
The market is not free. In a capitalist society, the market heavily relies on the state.
I mean, I'm just saying we kind of need capitalism for freedom. That's what
no,
other
you don't.
economic
There are
system
societies
is
that existed for millennia that did not rely on capitalism.
What other economic system works with having a free country, as free as can be?
I don't necessarily think it has to be an economic system. I would actually argue that we would experience more freedom, especially freedom from oppression and exploitation under socialism.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, though.
It very much does work, because if it didn't, then
doesn't.
capitalism wouldn't have to intervene to try and get it to fail.
It just never does. Humans are highly corruptible.
No, again, I would argue that that's propaganda from capitalism. Like, you've been indoctrinated into the capitalistic idea that capitalism is necessary in order to create innovation, progression, motivation.
Well, you would have think by now that it would have worked.
Capitalism isn't working, and you would have
thought by now that it would have worked. It never has. Humans are corruptible. Power corrupts.
That's just true. It has worked. It has worked.
Where?
If we look at like barbarianism, prior to like even prior to like civilization of like the Roman Empire, it very much worked.
Okay.
Native American tribes. There are even still like Neolithic tribes that exist outside of like free market.
On the scale of our country and our globe nowadays, and the way we can, communicate with the whole world, and just how big we are now, it just can't work, because it's just like it can't. And then people will also say it
absolutely can. I don't know why you would think socialism can't utilize technology.
Well, I'm saying it just can't work. The businesses we have. Okay.
I'm not is not an argument.
You know what's the biggest or the worst thing that can happen to you is that you get everything you want. So let's imagine this. President goes on the stand or whatever, and he's like, "All right, guys, we're switching to socialism. All right, what happens next?" Freaking country goes into freaking chaos. Like,
do you have a source on that?
Ever. So, but how would it be implemented? How would this even work? Like, it just can't.
Obviously, it would be over like gradual period of time. I don't think that like we should necessarily change systems overnight, because we are going to run into issues. If we're looking within the current capitalist society, I would argue that we should move towards unionization, especially for workers, that we should establish some kind of limit on what CEOs, as well as like people who are running corporations, can make. I would also argue that we should create legislation to where the ability of corporations to become so large so that it creates monopolies should be implemented. I mean, that's just a few ideas. I think we should reform the tax system. I think we should move away from the two-party system. I think we should guarantee housing. stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, but that doesn't even sound like socialism. That does. I mean,
What
it
is
sounds
socialism?
closer to socialism, but you're saying, oh, put a cap on how much they can make and this and that. But like, I thought you were
Right.
talking
So
about
what
real.
is socialism?
Well, I thought you were talking about like real communism, like actual.
Well, I'm asking you what is that?
It's basically, to put it poetically, the world is black and white. You eat the same ham sandwich as everybody else every single day. You
That
get
is
this,
in no way any kind of like academic description of
like
socialism.
true communism is like everyone gets the same exact thing. Hard work isn't rewarded. Ingenuity isn't rewarded.
No, that isn't any kind of academic explanation of communism either.
Our capitalist society breeds ingenuity. Like it's like that's why
It actually does not. Necessity breeds innovation. Even if we look at like the technology of iPhones, that was state funded technology. That was not due to privatization. I would even argue that capitalism actually makes it so that ingenuity cannot occur. If we look at the light bulb took years to make, prototype out of prototype. That is not a successful model for capitalism.
I mean, but it's like it's a cycle. If you make a business and it's successful, like you do something, like it's successful, you have more money, and now you can do more things with the money. Now you can.
That in no way addresses what I just said. That was word salad.
Well, okay, like Elon Musk, he can make Tesla. Okay, it's taken off a little bit. Now I'm about to go to freaking space. And now I'm inventing new ways to send rockets into space and land.
Elon Musk and literally could, with the amount of wealth that he has, could actually donate that wealth to where people do have housing, people do have access to food. Like, why go to space?
Because he's for future human development. Like he's looking for
If he's for future human development, then he would actually invest in humanity.
People try to do that all the time. It's harder than you think. Think about it. Imagine you have $1 million right now. How are you going to get people houses?
I would argue that billionaires are just hoarding wealth.
Of course. And who are we to say they shouldn't? Who are you to buy their products? Tell people stop buying their stuff.
So would you argue that hoarding resources is kind of counterproductive to what is beneficial for humanity?
I think I mean,
that's a yes or no.
It's not my choice.
That's not the question.
Well, imagine you had it.
That's not the question. We're not going to go any further until you answer that question. And the answer is either yes or no.
Do I think it's beneficial for them to hoard their wealth?
For them to hoard resources, yes.
I mean, it could go either way. They can create a scarcity of wealth.
Yes or no.
It's just not black and white, but I would say
that is black and white, because I'm actually giving you a principle of excluded middle. I'm asking you if there's action
only because it doesn't matter.
Wait, you would say it is not beneficial.
I would say no, because it's not beneficial, or beneficial because it doesn't matter what they do with their money. Well, it matters if they.
It absolutely does.
They invest in like a death
do you think that we have a higher or lower wealth inequality today than, let's say, the past 100 years?
A higher or lower wealth inequality? Lower. You can look. Well,
okay, then you don't really know much.
This is what
I'm sorry to say.
Okay, well, this is why
that's checkmate.
No, it's not checkmate, because this is what you're doing.
It's checkmate. If you think that we have a lower wealth inequality today than we do 100 years ago, then that is checkmate, because you're wrong.
But people today are able to have like obscene wealth, but you're not understanding.
Which would be towards wealth inequality.
You're thinking of numbers on a paper of wealth. I'm thinking of basic living, which is all
we're talking about wealth.
You're lucky if you even get that.
Monetary. Okay, let me give you the context. In terms of monetary wealth, do we have higher or lower wealth inequality?
People can live and survive in this world easier than ever.
The answer is either higher or lower, and that's not true either. The answer is either higher or lower. It's not true. Like, I
It's
really don't think
factually
you
true.
see. I feel that you are the perfect representation of American exceptionalism, of the upholding of patriarchy, white supremacy, as well as capitalism through indoctrination and propaganda.
You didn't
Because you
even
have
brought
all
up
the,
white stuff.
one second, because you have all these beliefs with such little knowledge and understanding and such little critical thinking. Like, you really are part of the problem.
Okay, well, you said all that.
I don't think we can
You
go
brought
into
up white supremacy when I didn't even mention anything to do with that. But
a lot of your takes have been centered around whiteness.
really,
Yeah.
really, imagine we just didn't even talk about that. It wouldn't exist. Like, if you have a good skill, someone will pay you for it.
Absolutely. Wait, no, just because you ignore something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I mean, in today's world, I mean, I've never noticed any white supremacy. If I have a skill, I can get paid for it. I mean, just as much as anyone else.
No. I haven't noticed
Yeah.
any white supremacy.
Like, why
Again, just
why
because
do
you aren't
people
aware
like
of it
you
doesn't mean that it's not true.
get mad when people don't feel held down by anything? Like,
No, you just don't have any critical thinking in terms of like how things are structured. Things have been structured by white men, so of course the system is going to benefit white men.
well, had to get
It's that
structured by
simple.
somebody. I mean, could have been anybody.
Sure, well, I would argue that white men essentially utilized violence and ideas like patriarchy and colonialism in order to maintain power.
Of course, that's the way of the world. The world's not nice. It's nicer than it ever has been, though. Like I said before, you said it was
So
false.
now you're just kind of justifying it. So
You said
I
it
think
was
I think that's
okay.
where
We could sit here all day.
where we have to end. So
We could sit here all day
I
and
wish
say
I
that
could
that's
say
wrong.
it was a
Doesn't
pleasure,
change it.
but I mean, it
Pleasure kind of dunking on you. But, and that's also an is that fallacy, by the way, or an appeal to tradition, that because that's how it's happened, that's how it ought to be. So I really highly recommend learning. Ooh. I'm sorry, I don't know order of persons, so we'll just do our best. I don't even know where I am. Oh, I do have coffee. Thank you for all the subscriptions. Love that. 101,000 likes. Did I say that right? Jeez. Let's get the subs up. So I would love to hit the sub goal today. That would be really cool. Yeah, if you're new here, please make sure to like, to follow. Let's see.
hello, welcome. Hello?
Hello, welcome. Oh, no, you didn't connect. Sorry. You did. Thank you. Sorry, please stay with me. just going through the requests, and obviously that debate was a long time, so obviously a lot of people who are.
Hello.
Oh,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Doing great. I like your eyebrows.
Thank you.
All right, we can go down top to bottom because, like, you know, we're here to debate a little bit. I don't have my laptop, so, like, of course, like, we're gonna have to go, like, just, like, kind of logic, and you can, like, bring up, like, statistics as well, just to, like, prove that your point. So, what's your stance on pro-abortion?
I am pro-abortion.
Like, yeah, but, like, why you think it's beneficial more than not?
I think people should have access to healthcare, and abortion is healthcare.
But it's like, would you say it's two different scenarios?
What do you mean?
Healthcare would be like, it's part of it, but also healthcare is getting treated with like wounds, like broken bones, cuts, things like that, right? So most of these instances are caused by accidents, right? It's so.
I'm not sure what the question is here. I think healthcare revolves any kind of treatment that would be beneficial to your health, and I think termination of pregnancy has health benefits.
Okay. Regardless of my point, so to do the pleasure, right, to make a child, wouldn't you say that? Can I say the word? Sorry,
Can you say what?
Can I say the sex? Can I say sex?
Yeah, you can say sex.
Okay, so.
Or you can say intercourse.
Right. So if you want to have intercourse with the person, and the only reason why you should is either for pleasure or a kid, right?
No, I would argue for elements of socialization as well as psychological well-being. And I would actually say that those are the primary drivers.
Social, okay. You still can't take out the fact that that's still a risk. So shouldn't it still be both of, at least mainly the man's duty to not, release the seed into the woman? And
I mean, if you were going to argue any kind of causal, yeah, I would say the causal is more on the man than anybody. But even when people partake in like risky behavior, even if like unwanted outcomes occur, I still think they should have access to healthcare.
Right. But also, doesn't the woman play a big part in it too?
No.
And by saying it's their choice, shouldn't the woman also have saying that, oh, you should be wearing a condom?
I mean, obviously a condom would reduce. Yeah.
Right. And that's better safe than sorry. Just like a plan B.
I would argue that he would have the obligation.
I mean, if the woman is allowing consensual, unsafe intercourse, then it's still the woman's duty as well, though.
I think that if you do not, obviously you should take as many safety precautions as possible. So, but in terms of causing pregnancy, no, I would say men cause pregnancy.
Yeah, right. Does this pro-abortion all come down to your body, your choice?
No, I essentially think it comes down to, I think you have, I mean, if we're going to talk about like the morality of it, I just find it immoral that people should be forced to sustain pregnancy against their will. And I think like the utility of offering full healthcare services would create the best outcomes.
Right, but it's even more and more to kill a baby, though.
No, I would argue it's to terminate pregnancy.
So a plan B is also abortion?
No.
What's the difference?
Well, plan B you take to prevent pregnancy, not to terminate.
Okay. And there's obviously different stages of this pregnancy. So what stage would you think it's good to terminate?
I think you can terminate pregnancy at any stage. Just the means that you go about terminating pregnancy, I think, would change after 24 weeks.
And what's the non-benefits of keeping the baby?
I mean, I think there are a lot if we just go based on like health risks and complications. But I could also argue economical, mental, social, stuff like that.
Right. I mean, it can go either both ways. It's just depending how the mental mind is going at it. But let's see.
I think making someone feel like they're a prisoner within their own body would create mental health issues.
Right, but again, like, it's still the woman's choice because the baby's still in the body.
What do you mean by it? That's still the woman's choice?
Because they wouldn't be really trapped if they really had the choice to terminate or not. Because okay, let's say the man wanted to terminate the baby, right? And the woman doesn't. They're not. The man's technically the one that's trapped.
No, I wouldn't say he's trapped. There's no law forcing him to stay.
Actually, child support is one of the laws.
Child support does not occur within pregnancy.
I mean, if you abort it, no, but...
Right, but a woman cannot file for child support simply because she's pregnant.
Right. Okay. But, and like, if you're talking about morals, then it's more and more to kill a baby, or not, while they're pregnant, than not. If
I don't give the fetus any moral consideration until about 24 weeks.
Okay. Shouldn't that be a lesson though? Shouldn't that, because the reason why abortion is legal and it wasn't legal in other countries or before is because it's to reduce population in America. And at other countries that don't have this kind of law or choice that you're able to abort, it should scare these females to have protected sex more often and be careful who you choose as a partner. No?
No, I don't think that you can come to any of those conclusions. I would actually say having the freedom of abortion makes it more able to escape harmful relationships. Are you aware of what the number one cause of maternal death is?
Internal death, as in
maternal death.
Oh, I don't know what maternal is.
Maternal is essentially someone who's pregnant.
No, I don't.
It's homicide.
Homicide.
So
Okay.
I think restricting abortion would put more people in positions to where they are unalived by their partner.
Put more okay. So you think that all these countries should have a choice to abort or not?
I think that healthcare should be provided, yes.
For free?
I think it should be nationalized and have a single payer system, yes.
Single payer system, okay. Like coming only from one source, like for example, America can supply all that aid?
Well, if we're talking within a capitalist society, then yes, it would essentially be government funded, as most healthcare in other developed nations is.
Right, and another thing with capitalism and all these, and you want people to have free homes, but these homes these homes that was built from other humans that worked hard, right? So in this society, humans have been set to a standard point of working hard. And so you're pretty much like saying, oh, these rich people should support or fund these fundraiser companies such as housing so they can house like homeless people. And
no, I'm essentially against the commodification of housing. So no, I would say that the fact that they have hoarded housing through the means of capitalism would be unethical.
Okay.
And therefore we should have a nationalized housing to where there isn't like a commodification of it.
Okay. So another thing with the free healthcare. So we have limited resources, especially like with opioids and HIV bags and like things with that. It still wouldn't make sense to make that like a lower price if people who need it more than somebody who did something stupid can get it the same price.
I don't understand what point you're making there. If we look at pharmaceutical companies are some of the highest profit margins within the industry. So I would just argue that they're price gouging.
Right, because they control the market price.
And again, I don't think like if I go for a hike, do I know that there's a risk that I could injure myself?
Yeah, just like driving.
Right. And if I injure myself, do you think I should be denied healthcare?
No.
Then that same logical process should occur within pregnancy and access to abortion. Even if I engaged in an action that I knew there was risk for, just because a certain outcome happened, I should not be denied healthcare.
No, because that's still a choice. When you have the
It was a choice for me to go hiking.
Right, but you still control
what's going on. It was a choice for me to get into a car.
Wait. No, because you still control what's going on around you.
What?
In terms of intercourse.
I gave you the simple premise, and the simple premise
but
was
hiking is
if I engage in an action, then I know there is a risk I can be injured, and then I am injured. Should I be denied healthcare? And you said no. So having sex, I know there is a risk that I could become pregnant. Should I be denied services that would then terminate my pregnancy? That logical premise should remain consistent in both analogies.
No, because you can argue that one is more serious than the other.
Then it has nothing to do with knowing that there was a risk. And you can't use the risk argument. Essentially that you were aware of a risk, therefore you were denied services. It would have to be a different argument.
Well, my point is not that knowing the risk would deny you the healthcare or not.
Then what denies you healthcare?
It's the situation you're in.
Based on what principle?
Based on, I would say, I guess, seriousness.
What do you mean by seriousness?
In terms of seriousness and chances. So like, again, like if you were to go hiking, obviously, like if you get attacked by something like a snake, then that's like kind of, unpreventable in that circumstances. But if you were to get pregnant, that's still, you can still take a plan B or wear a condom to even reduce more. So why would you even take the chances?
56% of all abortions are due to failed contraceptives. And if we want to come up with pragmatic policies that would reduce abortion, I think we can absolutely do that, which would be comprehensive sex health education, which would be state and government funded birth control, paid parental leave, subsidized childcare, free healthcare. All of those things would dramatically reduce abortion. Subjugating and oppressing people with a capacity for pregnancy to be denied healthcare does not generate those outcomes.
Right. And would you agree that abortions are accidental or accidental causes?
I don't know. No one gets an abortion by accident.
No, not that they get abortion by accident, but like, let's say like you get a baby, but like accidental, it wasn't planned.
Yes, abortion can arise from unplanned pregnancy.
Okay, so wouldn't that just make the government spend more money on care that's able to be monitored or able to be controlled, basically?
What?
Basically, my point is that would make the government spend even more money on healthcare that only applies to women. And we need more healthcare to help the people who actually need it in need? such as?
I would actually argue that this would, so if we even just go based on the point of doing subsidized, state-sponsored contraceptives, Colorado implemented a program called LARC, which stands for Long-Acting Reversible Contraceptives. And it saved the state something like $69 million in other social services. So I would actually argue that people having access to healthcare would actually save the government money, because not only would people have access to preventative healthcare, to where, let's say, for example, they could get a cavity fixed for $200 or $300 that would prevent a root canal 5 to 7 years later that costs thousands of dollars.
Right. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Fuck. So if you want to make the healthcare lower, basically, then you're not paying these doctors as much as they should be being paid, because someone needs to pay them, and it's coming out of your tax dollars. So that's why it's so high. Because if you're going to do such a mistake.
I would argue the cost of healthcare is so high because of privatized insurance.
And how many people that live in America as well?
No, it would just be privatized insurance, because essentially they just want discounts. I mean, the system that I am promoting already exists. It exists just in a privatized manner, to where, like, do you agree with private healthcare?
Do I agree with private healthcare? Sure.
Yeah, in terms of private health insurance?
Yeah.
How does private health insurance work?
By having the funds to get the care you need.
Right. So how does the system work? How do insurance companies pay?
Pay what?
Pay for people's doctor's bills. How do they pay? Where does the money come from?
Taxes.
It does not come from taxes. It comes from
the income of the federal government. But
no, it comes from premiums. What is a premium?
A premium?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably do know, but I don't know that.
Why are you arguing this then if you don't understand it?
You could explain it to me.
No, answer my question. Why are you arguing this if you don't understand it? Like, a premium in terms of health insurance is the most basic term. How are you arguing for a system that you don't even understand on the most elementary level?
Well, it's not that I'm arguing about the system. I'm arguing about
you just said you supported privatized health insurance, and you have no idea how it works.
I didn't say I supported it. You just said if I agreed on it, or you just asked me to explain it. I didn't prove no point that I supported the system.
No, I did ask you that because that's how I set up the argument. Is I made sure that you agreed with it, and then asked you how it worked.
Okay, so why does the private insurance even matter? If most people don't even have the private insurance.
So the reason that private insurance essentially creates inflated healthcare costs is because it's for profit. So in order to generate a profit, you have to artificially inflate healthcare costs so that when you have a large group of patients, you are able to negotiate those costs down so that you pay less than sticker price, which means that people who are uninsured don't have to pay full sticker price.
Right. You can argue that with the foods and everything with grocery stores now.
So I'm saying that system is ineffective because it's for profit. If we just nationalize it to where our taxes are pooled, then the artificially inflated cost of healthcare will go down.
Right,
I would even argue that a lot of small doctors' offices are left holding the bag because private insurance companies are always looking for a way not to pay. And so surgery centers, other hospitals perform open heart surgery, perform all of these services, and then the insurance company says, no, I'm not paying. Like, do you think the average individual is going to be able to afford $100,000 open heart surgery? Like, the hospital is out that money.
Right.
Where if we had a nationalized system, it would be paid. That's why a lot of doctors' offices are no longer taking insurance, because of the amount of money they had spent on administration costs and the risk that they don't get their money.
Well, that should just give more of a reason to not take that risk. And in terms of like heart surgery, sure.
Can you repeat what I just said? Can you repeat my argument back to me?
I was gonna say something, but dang. To repeat, he's talking about open heart surgery and that the private insurance that they control the market, basically. I get it.
Okay, so that wasn't it, but okay, go ahead.
Okay. But how is that not in the context though? How does these private insurance companies not control?
You just repeated certain words I said. I don't think you actually digested my argument to understand how the structure works.
I guess not.
Right. So, and I feel this is just like fundamentally we're not going to get anywhere because there's so much knowledge that you lack.
Right. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
All right. So why does body count matter?
I don't think body count matters.
Why do you think it doesn't matter?
Because I don't think body count is reflective of someone's capacity to be in a long-term relationship or their moral and value framework.
Well, it's still viewed upon. Like, let's say like someone who just turned 18 has like 10 plus bodies. You don't think that has like some sort of reflection on them?
No, because we can talk about certain contexts to where, like what would it show about them?
Or what does it show about them?
Yeah.
Oh, is that a question?
Yes. You're saying that you are drawing conclusions. You are saying that you are drawing conclusions based on their body count. What conclusions are you drawing?
Saying that they might be like emotionally unstable.
Why would having a high body count mean they're emotionally unstable?
Because they're not able to keep a long-term relationship.
What if they don't have an interest in a long-term relationship?
Then you're just encouraging to just go out there and do the deed and get pregnant and then lead to abortion.
Just because you have a high body count doesn't mean you're going to get pregnant.
I mean, you can argue
and again,
that.
it wouldn't show, like, so, again, like, if they're not interested in a long-term committed relationship, obviously just because they have a body count of 10 would not suffice that they are emotionally unstable.
I mean, just because a man says that doesn't mean that they're emotionally not stable for that information.
Right. So I would say it would be other actions and behaviors that would support that, not the body count.
Right. But you can argue that a person with a higher body count had a higher chance of getting pregnant than someone who,
No. Again, I would argue it is not the amount of partners that determines if you're going to get pregnant. It is the volume of sex you're going to have. So if I have sex with 5 guys once, I will have a less likely chance of getting pregnant than if I have sex 100 times with one man.
I don't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, then we have a math issue.
Well, probably. All right. I'm sorry. I just wanted to just debate.
What?
I'm sorry.
No,
I just wanted to.
Giving you enough L's. Call me Vanna White. L. Okay, I need mascara and I need to do my lips, and I think I want a little bit more concealer. Conceal, don't feel.
How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So, where should we start?
Wherever you'd like.
Abortion. I don't care what you do with your body. Like, I'm pro-abortion too, right? Feminism.
Okay.
Feminism. I'd say is needed in not modern day feminism. Modern day feminism is a male hating side. Now, if you were to take feminism from like early on, all about it. Are you talking that
What
type of feminism or new
what
age
tenets
feminism?
of modern feminism reflect male hating?
I open a door for a female and she gets mad saying, I can open the door for myself. I'm a woman. I'm strong enough to open the door for myself. Nope, that's just me being respectful on how I was raised.
I think that can be just a reaction to what she perceives as benevolent sexism.
But that's today's ideology of feminism of women can do everything a man can do, right? Which is not true. Men can do more than women can do, and women can do more than men can do. It just comes down to what it is that they're doing.
What capacity?
In what do you mean, what capacity?
I'm asking you for the contexts.
On context on what, though? I just said a lot.
You said things that were very vague, like men can do things women can't do, women can do things men can't do. Like
okay,
in what
so
context?
so look at blue collar jobs, right? 90% of blue collar jobs are male dominant fields.
Right, that's not because women don't have the capacity to perform.
Men are stronger. It's because men are stronger. Men are willing to do the work that it takes.
I would argue it's not for that reason. I would argue that women have been excluded from it. Because if we look at like when men went over to war in World War II, women did fill those blue collar jobs and actually were more productive.
Okay, so then why aren't women working it?
I don't think that feminism essentially needs to necessarily create all similar conditions socially. Because I would say that like with blue collar jobs under capitalism, there's a huge exploitation of labor. So
I would have to agree there too with you on that one.
So if we're going to talk about why women don't join male dominated industries, I would argue because of lack of upward mobility into management positions, sexist attitudes in terms of their ability to perform and be productive, as well as the heightened risk of sexual harassment.
Okay, so to argue your first statement, right, of the roles, being able to get into a higher role as a male versus a female, okay? Statistically speaking, if you look at it, a man is more likely to work more hours than a female, especially in a household with children.
Why are you saying man and female?
Because that's how I want to.
Why?
Just because that's what I prefer. But
why are you talking about men as a noun, but women as an adjective?
Can I finish what I was saying?
No, I want to understand.
Okay, well,
this.
but if I'm going to debate with you, but if I'm going to debate with you, we're going to have a respectful conversation.
Right, and I'm going to ask you. You are within your sentence a humanized idea of men, but a dehumanized representation of women.
Okay, men, women, whatever. Anyways, what I was saying. Can you hear me now?
No. Is it just me or is chat? Can you hear him?
Hold on, let me restart real quick.
Yeah, if you want to drop, I'll add you back in.
Hi, Chantal. Welcome. Oh, there he is.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Okay. Where were you at?
Why are you talking about man in a humanized way, but women in a dehumanized way?
Okay, men and women, right?
Well, you were saying man and female.
Okay, that's my bad. Was not aware. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Men and women. Men are more likely to pick up the extra hours at work to get a project done, okay? especially in a household
Why
with
do you think
children.
that is?
Because statistically speaking, if you were to go look at it, the women take care of the children, right? That is a
Right.
motherly instinct from birth that women will always have. Men are providers from birth that they will always have.
No, it is not instinctual. It is learned behavior.
It's very instinctual. Look at any other
A
animal
maternal
life form.
instinct is not real.
Look at any other animal life form.
A maternal instinct does not exist. There are many animals who abandon their children and who eat them. That is not a maternal instinct.
Okay. So you're saying say a lion and a lioness, right? Who takes care of the children? Who watches over the children? Who stays with the pride? Who stays in the pack?
So, are you familiar with what a naturalistic fallacy is?
Tell me about it.
So, that because certain things happen in nature, this is how we ought to organize.
Okay, but that's also just your natural instincts.
It's not. Do you think Casey Anthony had a maternal instinct?
Who's Casey Anthony? I'm not aware of that person.
Casey Anthony was on trial for killing her daughter after her body was found for a month after being missing. Or Andrea Yates, who drowned her 5 children in the bathtub.
Did they state why they did it?
Well, Casey Anthony said that she didn't do it, so she didn't admit it.
Okay, so you have a few outliers. You're trying to base your argument on a few outliers.
Well, then that shows that it's not instinctual. All parental behaviors are learned, and they're typically learned on the job when someone becomes a parent.
Agree to disagree on that one.
It's not an agree to disagree. Can you give me a source on parental instinct or maternal instinct, to be specific?
Can you give me a source on it?
Will you make
You're the one but you were arguing with my
Yeah, I'll give you a
opinion,
source.
so.
You can give me one.
Yeah, give me a source. That's what I'm saying. Give me one.
Well, I'm asking you to give me one. So
Okay, let me-
please. Are you back? Are you there? I can't hear him either.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, okay. Well, it took a while, so I ended up being in the middle of something, but it's fine, I'll talk. So, I've been listening to your debates for a while, and I'm like more centered I think most of the people that came on here. So, oh, you're lagging a little bit. Can you still hear me?
You kind of cut out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I figured your stream is lagging a little for me. Where did I cut out?
Hello? What are you here? What topic are you here to discuss?
Yeah, so I've been listening for a while, and it's not explicitly outlined, but I wanted to talk about both your takes on capitalism, and I'm curious for you to define toxic masculinity a little bit more, because I heard you talking about benevolent sexism, so it seems like you have a problem with both hostile and benevolent sexism, so I wanted to know a little bit more about your takes on that. I'm actually taking a gender studies course, so I'm interested on your takes. Okay, but first on capitalism. So I just need a gauge, like, if you would define your ideal economic system, could you please do that for me? I'm sorry if you did this already and I wasn't listening.
I really don't like, as you can see, capitalism isn't on the board. I really don't like to make this an individual topic.
Okay.
I'll bring it up when it relates to like other topics that I'm discussing. But in terms of toxic masculinity, I would define that as stoicism, competitiveness, aggression, dominance, misogyny, and homophobia.
Okay, let's talk about stoicism a little bit, because I think that can side both as benevolent and hostile sexism, don't you think?
Sure.
Okay, so do you have a problem with benevolent sexism? For example, do you think the protecting assertive man has a place in our world, or no?
I think it's really nice when people are self-sacrificial, but no, I don't think it needs to be applied to masculinity. And I don't think it actually serves as like that. I think it creates a system of male domination and female submission.
Okay, that's good, because I agree. I think all masculinity it hinges on this idea of dominance and hierarchy in some way. But my question to you is, despite I agree with you that like dominance and like conquering whatever is supported by these ideals, but we see time and time again in society that like these ideals are upheld not only by men but by women. Like I've actually done a lot of research into the topic, and men are happier when they move away from these ideals. But it turns out that it's not only men holding themselves there, but women. So
right, I don't think I never said that women don't
right. Okay.
essentially subscribe to like patriarchy.
Sorry, let me finish the thought. I didn't really finish there. Okay. So it has to beg the question, right? Like gender is fluid, it's flexible, we both know that. But how come throughout all of these years, throughout all of the decades, where gender has so many opportunities to shift? I mean, clearly we've seen the female gender role move so much, but we haven't seen the male gender role make nearly as much progress. I mean, recently we're seeing a big upsurgence in traditional masculinity again. And I don't know, don't you think no matter what we may say about how things should be and what we want gender equality to look like, maybe there are instinctual, biological reasons that men play the roles they do in our lives? Maybe there's a reason that men are more dominant, and maybe they should be, because, I mean, it's desired by the other sex. And, I mean, as a species, we need to reproduce, right?
I don't think it's innately desired by the other sex. I think a lot of the women who like this kind of gender binary traditional masculinity idea are religious. So I think there's a lot of religious infusion when it comes to wanting to uphold this idea of the gender binary. And I think there's kind of a resurgence within traditional masculinity because men are still trying to grapple to maintain that dominance and power.
Okay, I finished doing what I was doing, so I can stop being so like roundabout with what I say. I don't agree with that at all. It doesn't take much research to find that women of all backgrounds, religious, atheist, agnostic, whatever you want, are attracted to a dominant man. I mean, you can go on TikTok, which is a pretty left-leaning platform because of its age skew, and you can see a bunch of women with the top comments, tens of thousands of women agreeing, man, like all the feminism leaving my body when my man does X, Y, Z. And all of these point subtly to this idea that a dominant man is attractive. And I don't think it takes religion for a woman to find a man attractive.
Do you have a source outside of TikTok I can look at that breaks down the demographics?
What? Okay, yeah, I do, actually. If you search up research by Hamid Alba, she's a PhD clinical psychologist. She actually talks about how women prefer heteronormative dating scripts where men are more dominant, and there's actually no religious skew in it. The link might be held under a research paper, so you might not have access, but it's on Springer Research. So I'm actually a student at Princeton right now, and it's one of the research papers we've read. But you actually find that not only are women in religious environments drawn to these kinds of men, people outside of it are too. And you don't really need a source for this. I mean, it takes very little preliminary, like, you just look at the woman around you. I think they're drawn to men who are able to ask them out on the first date. I mean, how many women do you know say the man has to ask me out on the first date? That's the status quo as of these days. I mean, it doesn't take much research or a study to show that.
I do think the research on this would be
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just read some of the comments. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, just trust me, bro." Like, I quoted a source first of all, and then I said you don't need a source to see these things. So I have both. It's not like I'm just saying. Okay,
I do think there is really important research because obviously there's like biases and with like your observed experience, especially on TikTok.
But I've given you a source, no? I'm just saying that the source is.
I know. I'm not saying that you haven't given me a source. I'm saying that the argument that you don't need a source is not a good argument.
Okay,
so,
I'll take it.
Again, I go ahead.
No, fine. I'll take that.
No,
but
go ahead.
I've provided a source, so how would you like to respond to that? I used my source to prove that your argument that religion is the precedent for women desiring dominant men is incorrect.
I would say that religion does play a big part in it, but I would just say that these are historical ideas that essentially have been normalized within culture, so that these aren't actually innate, like instinctual things being driven. These are just cultural norms that people subscribe to.
It's interesting you say that because throughout history, throughout such a diverse range of cultures, gender has shifted so many times and people's roles have changed. You see this become surprisingly consistent. Time and time again, women want dominant men. So I think it's safe to say that this is something that transcends culture.
If we look at like prior to civilized society, we didn't really see male domination until like the invention of private property within Greeks as well as like Mesopotamia.
You're talking
there were
about
many centuries where we lived within an egalitarian society. Women, like the creation of the human species, women were not a slave to man.
No, we're talking about two different things. I'm not saying that women have always been like subjugated to a lower position as they are in today's patriarchy. I'm saying that they've been drawn to the same dominant characteristics. And that's something that's held true throughout time, even before the creation of private property. Obviously, I understand that argument. You're saying that's where the patriarchy began. Women were had to stay in the household and they couldn't own land. I get that. But regardless, they were still drawn to attractive men. Why do you think even in those... Oh, sorry, something came up. Yeah, you can respond. I need to respond to something. I'm listening, though.
I think women like attractive men just as much as men like attractive women.
No, we're not talking about attractive. We're talking about dominant. That's the key characteristic here.
Well, isn't that a form of, like, what is your definition of dominance then, so I can understand the context?
Oh, okay. Dominance is assertion. I think that's one of the best ways to put it. Someone who's dominant asserts what they want and is able to get it.
I would argue that essentially dominance would be establishing your authority or will over someone else. Correct. And that submission would be submitting to that person's authority or will.
That's the basis of all masculinism.
I would not agree that it is an innate instinct for women to submit to men's will.
See, we're going in circles here, but you keep on saying it's not innate, even after I bring up source after source, showing you how...
You brought up one source that does not say anything about it actually being an instinct.
So you believe that in the absence of society, women wouldn't be
I even search for innate or instinct within your article, and it says nothing about that.
What's the name of the article?
The one that you gave me, women's endorsement of heteronormative dating scripts is predicted by sexism, feminist identity, preface for dominant men and a preference against short-term relationships.
Right, that's the one. Exactly. And we use that one to explain that
you do that search, there's nothing that talks about it being innate or it being instinctual.
But you realize we brought up that source in a different section of our argument. We brought up that source in order to explain that even in today's society, you see women who are still drawn to these norms without any connection to religion.
And I said they're drawn to these norms because they are culturally
we brought up
acceptable.
This source because you forget that we brought up this source because you brought up religion. There's nothing in that source saying that women are drawn to these things because of their religion. That's the reason.
It doesn't even break down the demographics.
It does. You haven't read the source thoroughly.
No, I type in religion. It doesn't say anything. I don't see a table.
It does. You have a 50-page source in front of you.
Yeah. So where is it? Tell me what I need to do. Control F. Tell me Control F. What do I Control F so that I can go to the section?
Search up feminist identity.
I'm searching this within your source. I don't know why you expect me to read your 50-page source and then to be able to analyze it.
You can't draw conclusions about the source.
One second. Obviously, you, I think, would have read this source. And there's something that you can point to me in terms of what you're referencing. I said that I think a lot of women like this heteronormative binary ideology because a lot of those women would be religious. You said that's incorrect. I asked you for a source. This does not break down the demographics of being atheist, secular, Muslim, religious.
I'm pulling up the source now. I just finished what I was doing. Give me 1 second. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Okay. Sorry, it's loading. Research EBSCO. Oh, okay. Search up. Tell me if this works. It's by Marian Brandon. Male and female.
I thought we were looking within your source that you gave me the first one.
I gave you the wrong source. I apologize. That is completely on me. Marian Brandon.
Can you just tell me the title?
Yeah, I am. Sometimes you need this. Male and female sexual dysfunction in a rapidly changing cultural environment. Addressing gender equality versus equivalence in the bedroom. Tell me if you can access it.
Male and female sexual dysfunction.
Do you need me to read it again?
Yeah.
Oh, in a rapidly changing cultural environment. See if it pops up.
By
Marian Brandon.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So, do you have it open?
Yep.
So, if I read you a quote from it, you can confirm, no?
I don't know if I have the full thing. It just says introduction, aim, methods, main, measures, results, conclusion.
Oh, then you have it. It's not just the abstract. Okay. So, the core of this article, you can probably get it from the introduction, is this idea that throughout time, I mean, in our modern era, we're at a more progressive gender equality, like we're at a trend with greater gender equality than ever before. You would agree, right? I mean, we're moving towards it. You can voice your opinions online.
I think it maybe, I don't know. I don't think I can make that as an overarching statement because I still think like ultimately the gender binary idea is being withheld. Okay. And I would actually argue that's what fourth wave feminism is. Will eventually be categorized. Okay, I guess it's your turn to talk. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. You finished?
No, I'm good.
Are you done? Are you good? Okay.
Yes, so.
Do you think that we have more gender equality today than 100 years ago in the United States?
Sure.
This one's very easy. We do. I mean, we do. We have more gender equality today than 50 years ago. Women have more rights. Men have more flexibility. So in this environment where equality is at the greatest it's ever been, this study is saying sexual dysfunction abounds, right? Gender equality leads to sexual dysfunction. And if that's not innate, I don't know what is. So when men take on more feminine traits, in other words, they take away the benevolent sexism that you speak against, they actually end up experiencing sexual dysfunction. In fact, I mean, I'm sure many of your viewers are aware of this, but with the research quotes, in fact, good sex is not always politically correct. And a repeated findings within the research is that when women get with non-traditional men, in other words, men who don't experience or don't express traits that are typically classified under benevolent or hostile sexism, but we can just talk about benevolent for this case, the sexual relationship suffers. And I think that goes really far in showing us how our biology actually has a lot to say in what our gender norms should be. Okay, yeah, I'll give you some time to look at the source, but go ahead.
Yeah, it really doesn't say that. Even the conclusion, although we acknowledge and affirm that critical importance of gender equality, modern conceptualizations of gender in the literature ignore pertinent evolutionary adaptations and might be minimally applicable to sexual medicine patients. More research is needed.
You haven't read through the article enough. They talk about...
Well, I told you this is all that I have. If there's more...
I told you to control F the quotes I gave you. They talk about how women who...
I have just the abstract, which has the introduction, aim, methods, main outcome measures. But give me 1 second. I think my friend might be in here who could give me the whole thing.
Okay, awesome. Let me try to... I'll read you a quote from it and you can confirm it.
And again, this doesn't like even show the distinction. Like I asked for the demographics, and I thought you were giving me the demographics in terms of like being religious, anti-secular.
No, we're talking about it being innate because that's really what the core of this discussion is. I mean, you started by saying that women want dominant men in only religious contexts. And I'm saying,
I didn't
first
say
of all,
it's only religious context.
well,
I think a
said that
lot of
that's,
women who want that are religious.
Right, but you have to realize that most women are not religious and still drawn to dominant men.
Are we talking like globally?
I mean, okay, what % of women are religious? And you have to take into account different religions. I mean, a Buddhist religion is very different from a Christian religion.
Right. So I'm asking you, are we talking globally?
Let's talk about the U.S.
Okay. So would you agree that predominantly the most prevalent religion is Christianity?
So you believe that Christian women specifically are drawn to more dominant men?
Yeah.
So women outside of Christianity should have no correlation with their attraction to dominant men, according to you.
No. So if we're going to look at like how patriarchy and male domination has been infused within society, it's been infused in a couple different ways. And I would argue that religion has infused it in a very specific way to essentially give gender roles that are like ordained by God. And therefore, when women who are religious fulfill these gender roles, they feel they're fulfilling their purpose, which is why they subscribe to it. Even outside of that ideology and that level of thinking, women who grow up even secular within America have also been given a gender role in terms of like, this is how you ought to be.
Okay.
And therefore subscribe to like the gender binary of women are to be nurturing, to be caretakers, to be caregivers, to marry a man.
So you believe that women's desire for a dominant man has absolutely no innate ground?
Correct.
Because that's what you're saying right now. Oh, okay. So you believe that. Okay. Yeah. So in a society where men hold the keys to violence, this you agree with, right? You believe in a patriarchy, so men hold the keys to violence. You agree with this? Okay.
I think that masculinity is, well,
you believe in a patriarchy.
I guess you can just state my own premise for me. Do you even need me here for this?
Well, don't get offended. I mean, I'm just trying to go off your argument.
I'm not offended. It's just interesting to me how you like interrupt me, state my own premise for me. So I'm just asking you, like, do you really need me to participate in this for you?
You said you believe that the patriarchy exists, and that implies that you believe men hold the keys to violence.
That does not imply. You have made that conclusion on your own. If you would like my take, you can ask me for it.
You cut me off just now, which is, listen, let's not get off track here, okay? I apologize for assuming what you believe in. Do you think that men hold the keys to violence in society?
I think that masculinity is very much tied to the idea of violence, and that the most masculine men, essentially within the patriarchy, have mastered the language of violence.
Okay, so in short terms, men hold the keys to violence. We live in a society where...
I don't agree with that, because I think women have the ability to be just as violent as men.
Women don't have the physical means. I mean, I doubt this needs to be said, but if you're walking alone in the dark... Can I finish, please?
No, you cannot. Please remember, I gave you your mic and I can take it away, which, I'm feeling violent right now.
I'm going to do that. Condescending, pompous asshole. Oops. I hate when those intrusive thoughts get out.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
I don't think I actually have anything that we don't agree on, but I did have a question in terms of toxic masculinity. Do you think in our contemporary world of trying to date that there is aspects of that are detrimental to women? So, like, example, you go on like your first date and there are lots of women who expect a man to pay, but there are also women who are like, I don't want you to pay, because then there's expectations of, you pay, then I have to owe you.
Yeah, I would agree with both of those.
For the chat, I have a speech disorder, so that's why it's taking me a long time to talk. But so would you be more like on the splitting the first date, or would you be one person, the man takes care of the bill?
I'm of the philosophy that whoever asked pays. Okay. And I think if we're talking about like long-term dating, Canadian's dating coach is in here, which is very, very exciting for me. Totally fangirling. I go a lot based off of her philosophy, which if you are looking for a long-term committed relationship, that you do have a no kissing 90-day rule. And essentially you take the time to get to vet and know the person that you are dating before you give any intimacy or give any exclusivity. And within that 3 months, I think there will be obviously a variety of experiences that you want to have. If the first date is kind of a formal sit-down dinner, then again, whoever initiated, I would say should pay. And then from there, I would like to see a real big variety. If you are really interested in a man as a woman, I think you would want to spend time with him. And that would be including him in aspects of your life, whether that's, hey, let's go for a hike. Why don't you come over? We can Netflix and chill. And it would be an actual like fluid back and forth where he's inviting you into aspects of his life. You're inviting him into aspects of your life. And, they don't all necessarily have to be like those formal $200 dates.
Okay. So essentially, based on what you said, would I've seen this on this platform quite often, where like a coffee date is seen as like low value or low effort. Would that? I'm assuming you wouldn't agree with that then?
No, not at all. I mean, I think in the beginning stages of like showing like romantic interest, you can very much treat it like a friendship. I mean, if my friend asked me to get coffee, like I wouldn't be like, "Bitch, you take me out to dinner." But I mean, eventually, if you do want to go into that commitment aspect level, then I think like certain groups that people want. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a really bad echo. Ugh, I can't.
I appreciate you though. Let's pick someone from the middle. I always pick from the top, and I feel like make it stop.
Funny.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
What'd you take?
I'm against abortion.
Okay. Why?
First, I want to ask you: are you debating people to change your stance, or just to give your stance?
I mean, if you have a good argument, I'll consider it.
Okay. Well, I'll give you two, and then I'll hear what you have to say about them. The first would be that humans have an intrinsic value, and therefore we can't take the right to human life. And then the second one would be, if we say that abortion is right in any setting, then we can also say things like eugenics are okay. Things like euthanasia will be okay.
So let's take it point by point. Why is human life intrinsically valuable?
Why is life? That will go down to morality.
Why is it? Why is human life intrinsically valuable?
Because we are valuable, because we are created to be valuable.
So that's too circular, because then I could just say it's not.
Okay, so you don't believe human life is valuable?
I don't think it's intrinsically valuable. I would say human consciousness, or the level of human consciousness is what I would value.
Why?
I would just say that would be the basic objective standard, because outside of human consciousness, I don't think morality exists.
Outside of human consciousness, morality doesn't exist? That I wouldn't agree with that.
Where else do you see morality?
Well, morality it's not a, morality is, well, obviously morality is a human term, but like morality, if you believe morality is subjective, then sure.
Well, I'm asking you, like, prove it objectively.
Morality has to.
I mean, I even think like just saying it exists within like a person, human consciousness can make it objective, because human consciousness is objective. But without like human consciousness, I don't think there's any determinant of morality.
How can you trust that your consciousness is right, though? Like, if we can, how do you think we came to be?
That's saying that like morality is innate, and I don't think morality is innate. I would say that we would determine morality through scientific reasoning and philosophical arguments.
Okay, let's not go to philosophical arguments then. Like, let's.
That's a lot of what morality is based off of, is philosophy.
Okay, well, then how would you answer the second point? If we allowed abortion to be something that's allowed, then why don't we just allow the eugenics? And
I don't see how that's connected.
Yeah, it is.
Well, then bridge that gap. How is eugenics connected to abortion?
Okay, if I decide that I want to have a baby that's smarter, but then I find
if you decide you want to have a baby that's murder,
that's smarter. Sorry, English is not my second my first language.
No, that's fine. I just misheard you. So if you decide to have a baby that's smarter, by what measure?
Okay. By what measure?
Yeah, because I could come up with many scenarios where I do not think it would be like advantageous for someone to have a baby.
We're talking about having babies, though.
Right. If you have health complications that make it a high-risk pregnancy that can result in a lot of negative health outcomes or even death, I would say it is not smarter to have that baby.
Okay, but let's not get into the exceptions of abortions, right? Like, I would agree with you that if a mother is at risk of dying, then there's
always a risk of death, and there's always a health risk involved either. I can even make it to like a socioeconomic argument. If you don't have the means and resources in order to maintain pregnancy and give birth, then yes, I would say that is not smarter to have the baby.
Again, that's a slippery slope, because then we get into the argument that let's not have babies who have disabilities. Let's not have babies who have this.
It's your framework. You said that having the baby is smarter, and I asked you within what metrics, and then I gave you metrics with where it's not smarter.
No, I said you didn't understand. I said I want a smart baby, a baby that has a higher IQ, a baby that has.
Babies don't have IQ.
There is ways to measure that.
Really, there's baby IQ tests?
No, but there is ways to.
Baby IQ tests.
Okay, you want to go with studies? Let's go with studies.
Yeah, so it says like intelligence in infants or toddlers, but not like within fetuses. I mean, I don't know how you can determine the intellect of a fetus when it doesn't even have a brain.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. Like, we can get there. We can get to a point where we're like before conception. Okay, I want to have, well, not like right after conception. Okay, I want these traits on my baby. Therefore, like, let's give these traits to the baby of intelligence.
I don't see how that's linked to abortion.
Well, if a couple doesn't have these, cannot have a baby that meets these standards, then as a society, if we decide to abort them, we're incorrect for doing that.
Yeah, I would say that if you decide to have an abortion, based on like fetal abnormality development in terms of like intellect or of race or of gender, then yeah, that's problematic. That would either be like ableist, sexist, or racist. But I would say that eugenics would have to establish some kind of like authoritative source to where like a state or government or society are enforcing certain measures to be made.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
So allowing abortion is not like the state establishing any kind of eugenics framework. because the state isn't telling you to have an abortion or to have these babies.
Well, the problem is once if we get to that, you see it?
No, again, the state not interfering with your right to health care is not the state telling you what babies to have and not have. I would actually argue that anti-abortion would be doing that. I would even argue that anti-abortion within the United States is a white supremacy project.
Well, okay. The problem is that I don't agree with the state interfering on a person's decision, so I don't know what we're debating then. I don't think we can.
Okay.
But
so you agree abortion should be legal?
No.
So then you do want the state to interfere?
I don't want the state to say anything, but I don't.
Then you think abortion should be legal?
I don't think that we should be telling people what to do with their bodies, but it is incorrect to have.
If you think it's morally reprehensible, I really don't care. I really only care if you think the state should essentially deny the access to abortion.
Okay, but you do agree that if we that abortion can go into a slippery slope with in terms of eugenics and things like that. So
no, I think anti-abortion goes into eugenics more than anything. I already stated that.
Being against abortion goes?
Yes, I already stated that. I think anti-abortion would have more rhetoric of eugenics. Even in the United States, I think a lot of anti-abortion laws are apart. Actually, globally, I would say globally, anti-abortion would be a white supremacist project.
A white supremacist project? No.
Correct. Yeah, we can see that it has been historically. Right around the Emancipation Proclamation, where Black people were freed from slavery, is when abortion became illegal. So abortion became illegal because the most common abortion patient was a white Protestant married woman. And we had a lot of immigrants coming from other countries that were considered non-white. We also can see that Black women up until the 70s were forcefully sterilized. And we can even see today that migrant women crossing the border are being sterilized as well. So yes, anti-abortion laws are to prevent white women from having abortions to create a higher population of white people.
And that's incorrect.
Right, so you should be against anti-abortion laws. I'm so glad we agree.
But it's incorrect for both. It's incorrect for both.
I'm looking to see which guest is still here. I got about 45 more minutes or so. But yeah, let's do a little bit of show. If you like this kind of content, please do consider following, liking, gifting, subscribing. I am trying to make my schedule to where I can actually go live 6 days a week. 7 depending on the day. Sunday is really my only struggle because I do get a lot of shit done Sunday. Anywho, at least 6 days a week for the near future. So, and then you can follow me on YouTube, Instagram, join my Discord, all links in bio. I do have Cash App and Venmo if you'd like to support me other than gifts or subscriptions. And I also do have my Amazon book wish list, which goes, all the books are related to these topics to help improve my education so you get better debates, more entertainment, you learn more. It's just a win-win. Okay, let's see her.
I'm working on getting 6 days a week. This is not going to be like immediate. Hello, welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So on pro-abortion, I can't say that I'm 100% disagree, but agree, but I definitely believe that there should be rules within that. Like, for example, we fool around one night, you get pregnant, and let's say you decide that you want to have the kid or don't want to have the kid. I have absolutely no say in what happens whatsoever. So I know with feminism, they believe in equal rights. So why is it if a man chooses that he doesn't want to have the kid but a woman does, he still ends up paying child support? Hence why there should be some kind of rules behind it. Like, I can't say that I 100% agree with pro-abortion or abortion either way.
I do want to say, like, just in general, I find it, like, very in poor taste when men compare their wallet to women's bodies. Because really, one second.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel that's a fair comparison. But I'm for, like, the abolition of child support. So under this current framework, if a man, like, gave notice, I would say within 12 weeks, rescinding all parental rights, then he would have no obligation to provide child support.
Right. So you would agree with that fact of, like, having a choice is everybody's. It is everybody's intended right to have their choice.
Correct. And I don't think child support should be a thing in general. I think that is a necessity out of capitalism. Patriarchal capitalism, to be exact.
Not saying that all women do, but there are plenty of women that do physically just live off of child support, which I believe is completely wrong.
Like, the average child support payment is like $300 a month.
Three?
Yeah. Like, that isn't paying for shit.
I have two really close friends that pay well over $1,600 a month for 2 kids.
I said the average child support payment is $300 a month. And
right,
even for 2 children, like $1,600 a month, that barely, like, that might cover rent.
Right. But there is there comes down to a point of, like, where, like, let's say the mother's healthy, less of a risk of something happening to her, doesn't want the kid, but let's say I do want the kid.
Then I think you could offer her some kind of fee for surrogacy services, and if she does not want to do that, then you're kind of SOL.
Like, that's where like, I believe abortion is a very touchy subject, because, like, there are, like, myself included, like, there's no way that I would ever give up my kid and, like, the value that I have on my kid.
That doesn't,
so, like,
I don't see how that's relevant to the question you asked.
Well, just the fact that there are guys still in this world that actually care, compared to, yes, there are plenty of dirtbags out there that are exactly the perfect example of why.
If they want, they can offer money for her to be their surrogate. Right. And if she chooses not to perform that labor, then they're SOL.
Right. That's where it's extremely touchy, because one person has all of the control when feminism believes in equal control, or equal for both sides.
No, I would say that's an oversimplification for feminism.
But wasn't the whole point of the beginning of feminism for equal rights?
No, because I would argue, like, within first wave feminism, the suffrage, it was very much seen as a bourgeoisie concept, because essentially privileged white women wanted the right to vote, where migrant women and women of color were looking for more equity when it came to labor. So, no, I would say no.
No, I mean, I see your point. Definitely makes sense. The other side of it is I definitely don't agree with toxic masculinity.
What do you mean you don't agree with it?
So I don't believe there is such a thing as toxic masculinity. There's toxic people because there's toxic females and there's toxic males. There's no such thing as just a toxic masculinity. There's masculinity and there's feminism.
What is masculinity?
Or feminine. And then there are people that are toxic.
What is
there are toxic people on both sides. The pure image of a man. Like masculinity puts all men in one category.
Masculinity, would you agree with the definition that it is traits or behaviors related to boys and men?
Right. Just like feminine
prescribed traits
that are, they are traits that pertain to males, yes. But just because you're masculine doesn't make you toxic.
Are they prescribed traits by society?
By society, possibly.
Are these traits that we're talking about, traits or behaviors that are applied to men and boys, are these prescribed?
Yeah. But it doesn't make all men toxic.
Toxic masculinity would be toxic traits that have been prescribed to masculinity.
That would be categorizing.
That's exactly what masculinity is.
As all men are toxic. That's the reason why the whole point of toxic is kind of it cannot be there.
Men are toxic. It's saying that certain traits that have been prescribed to masculinity are toxic.
I've met women that are just as toxic as men.
We're talking about social prescriptions in terms of behavior and representation based on someone's gender. So yes, like for example, do you wear dresses?
Do I wear dresses? No.
Why not?
Because I am of the male gender.
Right. So it would, if you put a dress on, would you be less male?
Well, in today's society, yes, because it depends on how I feel on the
just
inside.
Scientifically, would you be less male?
Scientifically, no.
Great. So it's just this social prescription. This social prescription has said that women wear dresses. So there are social prescriptions of men's behavior that are toxic.
I mean, I guess that's an opinion.
That's what you say when you don't have anything else to say.
Sorry, you cut out.
That's what people say when they don't have anything else to say. They say it's just my opinion to dismiss me because they don't have an argument.
The point of making a toxic masculinity comment is in the same form of being sexist.
How?
Because you're categorizing males as being toxic. That are traits that have been
I'm saying that there
applied to us by society.
One second. I am saying that there are expectations that society has in terms of how men and boys should behave. And some of those expectations are toxic, whether prescribed by other men, by women, or society and culture as a whole.
So in that case, you could blame the people that the school systems and everything that they're around.
I would ultimately blame the patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism, and religion.
Like, the sad part is we lived in a fucked up society nowadays.
That's not.
Sorry for the swear.
That's not a counter.
But I still don't believe that, like, just because you're a male and society sees you as toxic makes you a toxic individual, regardless of how anything is prescribed.
So the behavior or the traits of toxic masculinity would be stoicism, competitiveness, aggression, dominance, homophobia, and misogyny.
Which, like, I mean, I don't see those traits within myself because I was raised better than that.
So again, just because it doesn't apply to you individually does not mean that it's a social construct of gender.
I mean, I suppose, like, yes, probably naturally, yes, men are going to be more toxic, but I still don't feel it's right to categorize everybody in the same, underneath the same thing. Hence why I don't agree with the whole toxic masculinity. There's masculinity, then there's toxic people.
Do you hate men?
Huh?
Do you hate men?
No.
So the reason that I talk about toxic masculinity is because there are social expectations of men within how masculinity is framed under the gender binary that are harmful to men. And I think it's very, you're doing a disservice to men by not recognizing that. By just saying it doesn't exist when many men are hurting from toxic masculinity.
How so are they hurting from toxic masculinity if it is a thing?
So if you would like a source, the first one I would have would be American Psychology Association, which talks about men's mental health and essentially the approach to reach men when they're having poor health outcomes. One of the big talking points is men are the highest group at risk of being victimized by violent crime, which obviously has to go within domination as well as aggression. And men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women. I would also argue that their life expectancy is 4.9 years shorter than women's. And a lot of these have to do with men's role within society. When it comes to stoicism, men are taught essentially to repress their feelings and that the only acceptable emotion is anger. So when men are taught to repress other feelings, I would argue that they will experience isolation because they cannot openly discuss that they are struggling. And when they don't see other men struggling, they think they are alone. When they become isolated, you're more likely to suffer unaliving or even worse health incomes like depression and anxiety. If we're going to talk about homophobia, I would also say that that is really dangerous for gay men. Where there is a lot of violence towards gay men because they are seen by essentially masculinity is constructed through a heterosexual lens. And so men emasculate a lot of other men who display more feminine characteristics or who are not attracted to women, which I would argue is why gay men suffer more violence from other men in terms of not only physical but sexual violence. Even if we look at certain institutions within society, like the police as well as the military, these are essentially male-dominated sectors that have been given essentially the authority or to be the arbiters of violence, which I think obviously has a lot of really poor mental health outcomes, which is why we see so many veterans suffer from PST, anxiety, homelessness, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up suicide being higher in males, which, in all honesty, when it comes to being a male, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares how you feel, ever. I have met one single woman that has ever cared about how I feel on the inside, and that's hence the reason why I married her.
I think women are more interested in men actually being emotionally intelligent and regulated than men are. I think that a lot of that is a social, or we could even say societal pressure. I think there are obviously some women that uphold the patriarchy, but I would say the most successful men within the dating market are more emotionally intelligent.
That they're more emotionally intelligent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, taught their whole lives to express emotions.
I mean emotionally intelligent in terms of not only can they identify the emotions that they are having, but they can express them accurately and in healthier ways, and not essentially feel shamed by feelings of helplessness, desperation, sadness, longing, where a lot of men are told just to kind of stuff those feelings down and always put on like a brave face, if you will. I think a lot of men are told any sense that things are okay, not okay, needs to be kept secret.
Yeah.
So that would be a form of toxic masculinity, would be stoicism. I think like also in terms of competition, because I did see a comment, I don't think like being competitive is necessarily toxic. I'm just talking about it specifically within the context of masculinity, how competitiveness is constructed. We can see competitiveness kind of rear its head mostly within corporate culture, where essentially there is microaggressions through bullying to maintain a constant advantage. You develop a mindset of avoiding losing at all costs, which obviously compromises one's ethics into cheating, exploitation, sabotage, restraining one's emotions again with the stoicism, except for pride and anger, showing strength and aggression in terms of in moments of conflict rather than like compromise or collaboration, and then being dominant over other men and women, which I guess would fall under again other types of microaggressions.
I mean, I guess I could see that.
Great. Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Do we need more mods, Sean? I think you're a mod. I know Belle's a mod. Pretty sure Heath is a mod. Yeah. Death becomes her. Do you want to become a mod? You're a ride or die. Hazel, do you want to become a mod? You're a ride or die too. Kristen's already a mod. Okay, well I added two more. I do have quite a few. I do have quite a few people in here, or moderators, I should say. Sorry to everyone who might be waiting.
If this is an actual debate, this probably will most likely be my last one. Oh my god, thank you for the cowboy hat.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good afternoon,
yeah.
Good day, whatever time it is where you are.
Thank you, you too. Good afternoon.
Yeah. All right, so how does this work?
You pick a topic that you disagree with, then we chat.
All right, so I was listening to the last one about toxic masculinity. I think there's a few things that needs to be clarified about toxic masculinity.
Okay.
All right, so you mentioned stoicism being a part of the toxic culture. Personally, I believe that's half true, in that there are benefits and disadvantages to being stoic, and also the definition of how a stoic person should act should be clarified. you mentioned that anger is the only emotion that, based on a Stoic person's philosophy, is the only emotion.
Not stoicism, like in general, as a general term. I'm talking specifically when applied to toxic masculinity, that stoicism is characterized as suppression of emotions.
Okay. Are you aware that it's suppression of all emotions, including anger?
So, do you think that definitions are subjective?
Up to a point. It depends on the context, right?
Right.
But
So do you think that when I'm using
that
specific words that I can apply a specific context that might not necessarily align with the descriptor?
I would have to disagree with that.
Really?
Yes, based on the examples that we see. All right, so based on the examples that we see in reality.
Then you think definitions are objective. I don't know why I can't apply a subjective context to the definition.
All right, so nothing's wrong with a subjective context if it doesn't changes the original, meaning of the definition.
That's the whole point. Like, what is the definition of fascism?
Fascism, I've seen examples of it, but I can't define it. Wait, fascism
What's
is
the
basically
dictionary definition?
Dictionary definition. I don't know. You'd have to tell me. What is it?
Well, I guess it depends what. Let's see. Let me do Oxford. An authoritarian and nationalistic right-wing system of government and social organization. So I would argue that when we talk about fascism within theory, that the main tenet that all fascist regimes share is palagenic ultranationalism, which is essentially a mythic past, and the descriptor has nothing, like the dictionary definition says nothing about that. So again, I can supply subjective ideas to definitions.
But what if it goes against the overall philosophy, right? And based on the examples that we see in reality,
I don't know how
right?
it can go against the philosophy when definitions are descriptors, not prescriptors. And prescriptions would be the philosophy.
All right, so for Stoicism, it's suppression of all emotions, right? Would you agree? Or would you still put anger as an emotion that's okay with Stoicism nowadays?
I'm talking about Stoicism within the context of toxic masculinity, and that has a different definition than the dictionary definition that you were citing. So I'm giving specific context to how Stoicism is being used.
Okay, so how is it being used to aid toxic masculinity nowadays?
So essentially, Stoicism is the element of it is the suppression of emotion, where within masculinity, they're taught the only emotion that's able to express is anger. So the Stoicism aspect of it is the suppression of emotion, or I guess the lack of displaying the feelings. And then there's overlap in terms of what is the only emotion acceptable, which would be anger. So there's elements of Stoicism, even though it doesn't meet even if within the Oxford Language Dictionary, it doesn't even say like all feelings.
Okay, so you're saying based on
I'm not really interested in having the debate from like a semantical point of view. I've given you the context of how Stoicism is applied.
Okay, so you're saying based on Stoicism, they're taking the elements of suppression from it, and they're allowing anger to be the one that is expressed.
Correct.
The only one. Okay, correct. I would agree with that.
Okay.
Because, we as humans, we don't follow strict rules. We tend to bend them. Overall, when it comes on to toxic masculinity, though, I would say that based on the definition of true masculinity, it's not masculinity that's toxic. It's how people perceive it, or how people apply masculinity. Because true masculinity, allows one to feel their emotions, connect with others, and express themselves. But that's not being applied to
masculinity is prescriptive. I think that we should construct healthy forms of masculinity. I'm saying the one that's been constructed, especially within Western society, has these toxic elements applied. Well, and maybe within other societies as well. I just don't have all the research on other societies.
I would say yes, based on how it's applied now. Because the original version is not the one they're using. The original version of masculinity is, I don't know if you're religious or not, but based on how they describe Jesus in the Bible, loving, kind, caring, but still firm, able to stand up for himself and others, right?
Yeah, I think masculinity, just like gender, has been transformed throughout time and is mutable. I agree.
Okay, so modern masculinity, you would say, is toxic.
Huh?
So the modern version of masculinity, you would say, is toxic.
I would say traditional masculinity is toxic based on those 6 traits that I gave. But there are other traits within masculinity that I don't think are toxic. So I hate to group masculinity as a whole.
Okay, so you're saying traditionally as in how far back? Like 200 years, 100 years?
I would say at least within the last 100 years. I would say the 1920s is kind of when we saw this contemporary form of masculinity. Well,
okay,
at least based on the data that I have. It could be longer.
Okay, because I was getting a bit confused there based on the word you use, traditional. It would be based on how far back you're talking about. Okay, so we can establish that 100 years ago, it was negative. It has been negative, right? We see what's going on in society, unfortunately. Young boys have been... What?
Yeah, well, again, I don't know if I necessarily have researched this enough to make the statement, but I could say within the Roman Empire, I don't think homophobia was necessarily a trait of toxic masculinity because many men it's with other men, but within today's structure, I think traditional masculinity has been developed through a heterosexual lens.
I would have to agree. But I realize that it's usually when something develops or gets toxic, it's as a response to something else. You mentioned within the last 100 years, masculinity has become toxic. Are you aware that...
I'm saying that there are traits that are toxic, not masculinity.
Okay, there are certain traits being applied to it now that are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that it is as a direct result of femininity becoming toxic as well within the last 100 years?
I would disagree. Can you give me a source on that or your argument?
All right, 1965, the birth control pill was made, or so I heard. Don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure, but it was as a result of feminism, right? Not directly, but as a byproduct of feminism. Everyone wanting equality. People want to have sex without any repercussions. A child being come into play, and that level of freedom, right, sexually, that has been given to women, right, has actually caused a lot of problems. Not just sexually though, but in terms of their independence from men, right, has caused a lot of problems. Because
how has birth control caused women's independence from men to be a problem?
All right, think of it. If there is a situation in which there's a consequence for taking a particular action, but then it is removed, isn't the typical result of that a bad thing, usually? For example, a child. If they are to touch the sweet...
I don't think children should be a consequence of sex. And I think your mischaracterization of birth control is incorrect, or your historical reference. Even if we look at modern birth control that was around in the early 1900s, even though it wasn't widespread. And I'm pretty sure during the Roman times, there was a plant that actually prevented pregnancy. That's actually now extinct because so many Romans used it.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have to be a slave to nature.
We don't have to be, but to a large degree, most of us are.
So I think that's kind of the middle ground that humanity needs to search for, is where we can free ourselves from the confines of nature, but not essentially behave in a way that is detrimental to nature.
So you're saying
I think women being liberated by having more birth control is a positive thing for society. I don't think that has any negative outcomes in terms of nature. But in terms of like capitalism and progression, I think that obviously we are destroying our environment, which is a negative outcome.
All right. So there's where I would have to disagree in that you just stated that birth control is not a negative to the environment. Right. That's what you said? It's not a negative to the environment?
Nature.
To nature.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually not true. Birth control, the compound found in it, EE2 or E22, I'm not sure which one, is actually toxic to animals and us as humans. And when it comes onto the filtration system, a lot of it is being, as it has been expelled from the human body, it goes into the sewage, right? Which affects the fish and crocodiles and other animals, right? Microorganisms. This compound prevents fertility, right? Or it cancels fertility. It affects fish
Can you give me a source
and
on
other
that?
animals.
Can you give me a source on that?
All right, give you a source. It's called. All right, so there's a book. There's a book called.
Belle, just 1 second. Belle, just 1 second. I just want to hear a source.
All right, there's a book called what was it? Estrogeneration. I'm not sure by who, but research done has proven that birth control has caused a lot of harm to the environment and us as humans as well, because the water that is being recycled, right? That obviously we use in the toilets. When birth control enters that system, everything else is filtered except birth control, because the molecules that make up birth control are too small for the filtration system to properly strain. And so we drink birth control in our waters, causing a lot of men to be infertile and also women, because testosterone.
So I just want to say this one thing, and then I'm going to let Belle go. So the author of this book is Anthony G.J. PhD. He's the president of the International Medical Research Collaborative. Dr. J has a PhD in biochemistry from Boston University of Medicine and a BA with a double major in theology.
Yes.
So
That's the one.
I just wanted to outline that. Okay, go ahead, Belle.
The source of this claim is actually Alex Jones. He outlined this on his podcast in order to argue that the frogs are turning gay because of women pee in the water.
No, actually, that's false.
It is.
Well,
That's
not
literally.
entirely.
There's a whole meme around Alex Jones talking about how like the frogs are turning gay because of like estrogen in water. So it literally is like Alex Jones. That's the source for this claim.
I mean, you're half right in the claim that part of it is due to the estrogen in the water, but the main source of the frogs actually being gay, right? It's not that they're actually being gay. They are being affected negatively, right, by the results of estrogen being present, and also a compound called atrazine, which is being used on corn. Now, atrazine, right, the limit that or the amount that caused the frogs to actually not turn gay, they actually converted into females, unfortunately, because of the hormones present.
I told you.
It took 200 nanograms per deciliter in order to do that, and the allowed amount in human food is around 3,000. So his claim, Alex Jones' claim.
Okay, wait.
It sounds crazy, but it's actually true.
Can you give me like a peer-reviewed? Okay, I'm gonna let Sean come up because I want my friends to deal with this lunacy.
All right. So, what are you guys' opinion on that? That atrazine and also estrogen in the water makes frogs gay, and therefore could impact human.
Yeah, that's nonsense. Frogs can change their sex without chemicals in the water. They've always been able to do that. Bullfrogs, especially, do it like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this doesn't make any sense.
But would you agree that the chemical components could speed up that process?
No, doesn't make any sense. The chemical components in the water do not have any effect on the frogs.
None at all.
None. Not with their sex changing. Like frogs can change their sex period. Most amphibians can actually change their sex period.
I mean, humans can change our sex, but wouldn't you say that an outside influence speeding up that process would be counteractive to nature?
Sure, but we're not amphibians, we're mammals. So when it comes to us changing our sex, we need like human intervention in order to do so. And we do that like willfully. But when it comes to like chemicals in the water, this is not like a real thing. Like this was like a scare tactic back in like the mid 2000s to say like pee is turning people gay because it's turning frogs gay. There's no actual evidence of this.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why trans people would spend so much money on like gender affirming care and estrogen if they could just drink a lot of fucking water. I'm sorry.
But that's the thing. It's not strong enough to have an immediate effect, but over generations, when you say there's an effect based on the studies that have been done. I mean, you say you haven't seen any studies, right? But they are in existence. Shows that the frogs change into the opposite gender, the feminine gender, is sped up by atrazine.
So what did I Google? Frogs turn into opposite gender because of birth control?
No, not birth control. Atrazine and maybe birth control, but it's not strong enough in the water.
It's really weird that when I gotta go back to work, but I just wanted to say it's really weird that whenever there's chemicals in the water that turn people gay, it's so prominent that people have to talk about it, but it's also so weak that you won't see the results for generations to come. But when we talk about chemicals being distributed into the water that cause cancer, it doesn't exist. I just thought that was funny.
Interesting. I mean, the chemicals that they're claiming, I'm not 100% sure, that the chemicals that they're claiming make people gay also have canceristic properties. So I guess that could be a reason as well. But it does exist, though. I mean, you see the book Estrogeneration.
I have nothing else to say. I mean, you could just give the source. I think we did ask for that.
All right. And all right, so the claim your friend made that we choose to change our sex. If animals are influenced by chemicals, wouldn't we?
Well, Sean already talked about how like frogs can already like naturally change their sex even without the influence. I don't know what can you restate the question, because it doesn't seem to be like following the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how we got here. What were we talking about before?
You were saying that birth control was created because of feminism, and birth control is destroying nature.
Okay, yes. So birth control, when it gets into the water supply system, since it mimics estrogen when ingested into the human body, right? It lowers testosterone. And so testosterone is actually necessary for not just men, but also women in terms of fertility and sexual health. So what I'm saying is that whole start, the effects that it have on our society are negative, in that a lot of people will become infertile. But the primary point I was making was that back then, because of the liberation, right? Is it still going on? Life is paused.
You can keep talking and we can hear you. Also, I'm reading that like atrazine is in herbicides and not in birth control. So I don't know why you brought this up with reference to birth control.
Yeah. If you if I don't know if you can replay the live, but if you were listening closely, I was making a distinction between atrazine as a herbicide used on corn and birth control as being a separate factor. Both of them are factors, but they're different. What I was making, the point I was making beforehand though, was about femininity having negative aspects to it because of, birth control being liberated back then, and, freedom from men and all.
Wouldn't the argument just be that like our filtration systems and our waste systems are the problem?
I mean, who controls that though? Isn't it humans? You can't blame the knife.
So why is birth control the problem and not just the actual system that is making contaminants get into the water? Like if we can change the contaminants where they don't get into the water, hasn't that solved the problem?
I mean, the original point I was making was that femininity has become toxic just as masculinity has become toxic, right? And that there's
you haven't established that. Like, you can blame it. You can blame it on the birth control, but I blame it on the system on which waste is dispensed by men and capitalism. So it's actually men and capitalism that suck.
Yeah, I just hold on. I just looked it up. So it says, research, there's one study that was published in the 2000s that suggested that atrazine, which is an endocrine disruptor, may have a feminizing effect on male frogs, causing them to become hermaphrodites. But then other research, so usually like the way that you would produce a good study is that the research that you do has to be like replicatable in a different study by like doing like the same controls and whatever. Other studies did do this. In fact, more than 19 did it. By the Environmental Protection Agency in the US. They ultimately concluded through this that it says atrazine has no consistent effects on development in amphibians.
They also say masturbation and pornography is okay, and we see the negative effects it has. So I wouldn't trust that study personally, but I would take it into account.
Here's another one from Science News. Don't blame the pill for estrogen in drinking water. Contrary to popular belief, birth control pills account for less than 1% of estrogen found in the nation's drinking water supplies. Scientists have concluded in an analysis of studies published on the topic. Their report suggests that most of the sex hormone source of concern as endocrine disruptor with possible side effects on people and wildlife enters drinking water supplies from other sources.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Right.
All right, so I was saying femininity has become toxic. You were saying how? I was mentioning that birth control has contributed to women not needing men, which causes a lot of, backlash in the family system, right? Which led to men being toxic. That's the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
Which furthered the development of men being toxic. All right, so.
Well,
I love when you do that.
Huh?
I love when you do that. When somebody just starts to get boring and you just. It kills me every single time. It's so funny. Like, they'll be like mid-conversation, or you'll just like get to like somewhere where you don't want to respond because they just said something stupid, and then you just kick them. It's so funny.
I guess that's my toxic feminist trait. Yeah. I don't give a fuck.
It's so funny to be rude. Well, those people, like, they get to the point where they don't even know what their own argument is because they've just gotten to like absurdity. So it's not just rude, it's just like saving your own sanity because you don't even know what the fuck they're saying.
Like, I don't owe them my platform.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
they're basically just on my own volition, so.
I give you your mic, she said.
I do. I give them their mic, and I can take it away. I'm reclaiming my rights, okay? I mean, if you don't like it, block me. Like,
start your own live.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. Well, I think that's it for today. We got a subwave? I don't even know what that is. 5 subs within 15 minutes. Oh, is that like a timer thing? Oh, we've gotten 2. I don't know what that is. Anywho.
Thank you. But you can complete the challenge if you stay live for 15 more minutes.
Well,
on the
only
subway.
3 more subs.
3 more subs right now. Chat. Immediately. Drop them.
Wait, I don't think you're a sub, bestie.
What?
I don't think you're a sub.
It's expensive in Canada.
Okay. Another L for capitalism.
Chat. Kenzie's trying to pivot. Kenzie. Oh, there's one. Okay.
There's
okay.
one.
We're getting there.
So 3 out of 5.
All
So
right,
you only need 2 more.
2 more.
And I'll do. I have to go pick up my kid. I don't know what you expect.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh,
one
there's
more.
Kristen. Ayo! What? I don't know what the sub gold even does. I'm curious to find out though.
Neither.
I wonder if I have any gifts. Oh no, that's me gifting myself.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they get to the point where they get gifted subs. All right, 1 more sub, y'all. I know someone's got it in them.
Oh, send subscriptions to others. I have 0.
Oh.
How do you get more?
Yeah, I don't know what. Oh,
I have
did we
more
just get
subs
another
than
one?
I have ever had, and they have not given me any more gifted subs.
That's so mean.
It is really rude.
Okay,
Oh, there it is. What does that do?
Yes. Okay. What is it? What is it?
Oh, wow. Now we got 6.
Hold on.
It says success.
Okay.
And there's stars.
Every subscriber watching this live gets a reward.
Holy shit, you guys.
Slade. We did it. We did it, y'all.
Yay.
I'm not sure what the reward is, but I'm happy for you guys.
We will add John and see what John has to say.
Hey there. Oh, can you hear me?
Hello, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, I'm going to keep it real quick. I just wanted to sort of ask a question, but I guess I just wanted to state my stance on this first, and then I'll sort of ask your question here. So with regard to that first bullet point, so for me personally, I am pro-choice, meaning supporting women's rights to make decisions about her own body, including the choice to have an abortion if she so chooses. And I believe that women should have access to safe and legal abortion services, but I don't necessarily promote or encourage abortion as the preferred option. Now, the importance of this being like reproductive rights, bodily autonomy, and the ability to make like personal decisions without interference from the government or others. However, on the other hand, with my,
I'm telling you what the context pro-abortion is in.
Yeah, pro-abortion implies that actively promoting or advocating for abortion as a preferred choice.
No,
and
you are taking that. Like that is your own summation. Pro-abortion.
Go ahead.
I want to like you. I want to like you, but in the 1 minute I've been talking to you, I'm struggling.
Okay.
So pro-abortion in the context that I am applying it in is that abortion is healthcare, and I am pro people having that healthcare, so I am pro-abortion. If I were to say I am pro people getting their cavity filled, I wouldn't say I'm pro-choice of people having the right to choose if they get their cavity filled. No, I'm pro the healthcare.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I just misunderstood the implication of that. Because like when I hear people and they say, oh, I'm pro-life, like what is the implication of that stance?
They're not pro-life.
Wait, what is the implication though? Is that they're probably anti-abortion, right?
I would say pro-life has just been really successful branding to make themselves sound virtuous, when actually their stance, I would say the antithesis is pro-life.
But can a person be pro-life and also pro-abortion?
I would say pro-abortion is pro-life.
Yeah, but can pro-life be pro-abortion?
I'm saying that how they have branded it is disingenuous to make them sound more virtuous.
That's all I'm saying.
I would say that I am pro-life being pro-abortion.
Yeah, that's all I was saying was I just think the implication of pro-abortion implies that they are pro, like that being the preferred choice of a woman. Whereas I think pro-choice allows the woman to make her own choice on it. What's that?
Free yourself from your restricted thinking. I mean, you know what happens when you make assumptions.
Yeah, no, that's all I'm saying. So a pro-life person can also believe in abortion, correct?
If we're applying a different context, sure.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. It seemed very like preferred choice the way I was reading it. I mean, I can't tell you the way to write it, but I guess just to prevent confusion of people who might join the live or see what's going on there, that pro-choice might be a better option rather than saying pro-abortion, just because of the implication that pro-abortion.
Okay, I will give. Why don't you not do what this guy did and make assumptions? Why don't you ask me what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
It's
So now I think that we're both on the same page. Is that
we're not.
Oh my god. Brutal. He did just come up and like basically just assume what your position was. He didn't even ask. Like, bro? John? Wasn't a slay, I don't know. all the new Q-tips.
Okay, y'all. Thank you both so much for subscribing, for liking, for gifting, for following. We have the best audience ever. I will say that every damn time because I win. So yes, this is the end of the live. You all know the show. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram. Look, I even got a tablet on Prime Day so that I can edit my live streams faster so that we can get clips faster because the live replays are a nightmare to edit. So I will be doing better on getting live replays up on YouTube quicker. If you want to support me outside the live so I can spend more time dedicating to growing and building the platform, I have Venmo, Cash App, and bio. You can also contribute to my knowledge through my Amazon book list if you'd like to gift me. I thought I had more on there, but I guess I didn't. Let's do a raid.
How many books have you gotten from your book list?
I have gotten 6.
Oh my god, slay!
And I have a little corkboard. My favorite thing about getting the books, well, I mean, obviously, is like it's great to like get more books, but I always love the note that comes with it, like because my subscribers say such the nicest things, and
that's really cool.
I'm actually collecting them on my corkboard because it
Did
really
I show you the new
is.
books that I got today?
Huh?
Oh. I was just going to say, did I show you the books that I got today?
No, you did not. You did not drop your book haul.
I'll show you. Here. I got this one. It's called White Feminism, From the Suffragettes to the Influencers and Who They Leave Behind. And then I got White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, because another book that I have is really critical of how this one like depicts kind of race in a way. So that's my haul. That's it. But I wanted to know what they were critical of. But please, show us your... actually, I guess that might have people's private information on it. I was going to say show us the board, but...
Oh.
Somebody may have their name.
I do. Whenever I get one, I do share it to my stories on Instagram. So that's a reason to follow me there if you want. I do try. Like, if you do send me one and you put your name, I do wipe that out because I respect your privacy. But I don't think Andy is live on her own profile. So it seems all my friends are guesting. So I guess we can't do a raid. But yes, I will. I don't think I'll see you tomorrow. Well, if I do see you tomorrow, it will be early in the morning because I'm busy in the afternoon. But I do have a haircut. And so I might want to do my makeup for my haircut. So I might be like,
wait, what are you getting done?
Huh? What
are you getting done?
That picture I sent you when I told you to talk me out of bangs and you didn't.
You should get curtain bangs. I think they'd be cute. Like face framing ones.
Well, we'll see. If I get bangs, they're going to be like down here. I don't think I could go higher than that. Certainly not higher than the eye.
Yeah. I mean, mine are like the shortest of my curtain bangs are at my lips.
Are those, I feel like those don't really even count as bangs. I feel like bangs are like have to be fringe, like up here.
Yeah. Curtain bangs are nice though, but I don't know. You might need a middle part. We might have to pull out the Kenzie middle part for the curtain bangs.
And now the Gen Zer gets booted for their stupid little part.
But thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time.
I'm so fucking cute, bitch.